The Indy cars are set to do battle on the streets of Long Beach, California. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the second round of the HSO 1988 Kart Series from Long Beach. It is the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Cars are finishing up their qualifying session just now. Looking through the chain link fence here as they come streaming by. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, everybody, from Long Beach, California.
Yes, home of the Queen Mary, which rests in the harbor, and it was also home of the Spruce Goose for a little bit for you airplane enthusiasts. The Spruce Goose now resides in a museum in Oregon, I believe. But for a while, it shared the harbor with the Queen Mary. If I'm not mistaken, there's also a Russian submarine in that harbor, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think so. It was one of the Cold War submarines.
So, we're at a very different track than Phoenix just a few weeks ago for these cars, where Richard Coxon pulled out a really excellent victory in the Judd power plant, or with the Judd power plant behind his Lola. Talk a bit about that victory. How significant was that?
Well, it was actually something that probably few people were expecting, because we all know that the Judd is very underpowered now at the beginning of the season, and in ovals you need all the power that you can get, because you obviously have the possibility of using it. So, like I said, Richard was in part lucky and in part very skilled to manage well through the traffic and through the yellow flags, and he finally got that victory that has given him well, very needed points boost, because obviously in these races where we are going into now, he doesn't have that possibility of using much power of the engine. And for example, here in the main straight, he's certainly giving away lots of time there to the other contenders. So that's one of the things that we have to be watching today. This and several other keys of the race that I'm going to give you all now. First of all, this is a street track, which means it's very bumpy and is surrounded by very unforgiving walls, which means drivers have to be very careful, and any error here might spell abandoning. Then you need to be very lucky with the yellows today, because this is a rather long track. This is a version of the track as it happened in the 80s. The track had been steadily growing to more and more parts of the city and surrounding streets, and it was already quite long and very, very twisty. There's a section that is quite twisty and very slow, so unless you're lucky with yellows, you could find yourself, well, coming either out of the pits or into them in a clear disadvantage. It will depend on where you are when the yellow is triggered. Of course, that means you have to also watch a lot for traffic. That's the third key to today's race, because overtaking is not going to be easy in that twisty part of the track. And then, considering the championship and what we had been talking about Richard Coxon previously, this is the second race only, but we already see that two of the favorites, Grant Riddell and Austin Johnson, have not been able to score points in the first race, which has given David Jacks, which is a very steady driver, already a head start, as well as Richard Coxon, though in the case of Coxon, as we said, the engine is going to let him down in many races. Watching this race in any case for Martin Lacina, because he is one of the skillest late breakers here in our league, and is also a guy that is very, very quick in this kind of track.
Yeah, I think that's very expert analysis from Alberto there. All the keys to the race. We're going to have to create a keys to the race graphic to go with your with the work that you prepare for that, because I think it deserves it. But yes, definitely, Coxon's going to be hampered in coming races by the lack of power in the Judd. But that's not to say that he can't challenge for the championship, because there are other circuits, namely 1 mile ovals, where I think his car might be suited, and you never know. We'll see how things pan out. I mean, there are races that are high attrition. Who knows?
Basically, the main advantage of the Judd engine is going to be the fuel consumption. I think that was also quite important at Phoenix. He obviously was able to go very quick with the car, but also it was very important that he could stretch those extra laps at the pit stops.
All right, well, why don't we go for a flying lap now with your son, little Al, who is driving the number 5 Pennzoil car, a Penske, coming down the Shoreline Drive straight, downshifting now into a right and left, which is actually faster than you might think. Then turning right, which is this turn here is pretty squirrely. This one I really have trouble with right here, this right-hander that leads you onto this left-right. Now you turn onto Pine Street.
Yeah, that's a section where you would go straight in later years, but now you are diverted here on this left-right, and here you would join. Here in this situation, here on the right, you would join the part that was straight on the original track, and that allowed this straight to be much quicker.
So now we're on Seaside. Seaside accelerating, the second fastest part of the track, downshifting here for a right-hander that leads you onto the Indy left, which is going through a parking lot, as you can see. Hanging a gradual left here, and then downshifting to first again for the hairpin. There used to be 2 hairpins in the Formula One version. Here we only have 1. Now, let's go for one more lap with little Al. He accelerates, doing this gentle right turn on Shoreline Drive. Queen Mary would be just off to the left here. Now,
and this is very important because this is a very quick straight. You will be needing here lots of top speed. Here's where Richard Coxon is losing lots of time.
Yeah, definitely.
And here is in this braking is one of the best opportunities of overtaking.
I got to say, Little Al's doing a really good job placing his wheel as close to the apex without hitting the barrier. Nice job. Now coming through the section that most people do not like, running under the Hyatt Regency, Long Beach, fading back to the left, then turning right onto Seaside. As Alberto mentioned, this section of the track would be omitted later, which would yield a much faster back straightaway on Seaside and another overtaking opportunity, although I think we may see some overtakes going into this turn. And then
it depends on the speed differential of the cars, of course.
Yeah, and then the rest of this left-hander here, you're just basically setting up for the hairpin. So that's one flying lap of Long Beach. The pits are on the right there. I believe we may have a pit speed limit situation for this race, Alberto.
Yes,
please inform the viewers.
I will have to brief the drivers about that. But here in Long Beach we will be having pit speed limit. This is a street course. It's very narrow. The pits are very packed together, and the garages are also together with the pits in the same parallel street to the road, so there will be a pit limit with some tolerance, so to speak, for speeding, but a pit speed limit after all.
So the qualifying session has completed, and if I'm looking at the, it looks like Juha Boss is set the fastest time, or am I mistaken?
Juha is in 11th position.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Grant Radal is on the pole with Thiago
Yeah.
Canola second. Sorry. Sometimes the order on the left-hand side looks a bit funny. But yeah, we've got Grant in first, Thiago second, David Jakes in the Mackenzie Financial car, my teammate, under normal circumstances, is third, and we have Martin Lucina, which Alberto alluded to earlier, who is right now in fourth. So you got a really good lineup there of drivers to start with. So we've got 10 minutes to go in the warm-up session here. While we have a moment, we'll take a commercial break. Alberto, you sit tight. We'll be right back after these messages.
It's the statement you make as you travel through life. Distinctive, decidedly you. The great American road belongs to Buick. It's the fast lane of life, the road to the top, the road that Buick commands. The great American road belongs to Buick. Substantial and sure, with power and grace, a spirit as free as your own. Yeah, it's the freedom to climb just as high as you choose on a road that was made just for you. Oh, the great American road, the great American road belongs to Buick. Great American road belongs to Buick. Great American road.
Today's small cars are tougher than ever on oil. Their high-compression engines not only rev high, they can run hotter than regular small car engines. Their searing heat can begin to break down an oil immediately. That's why there's Castrol, the motor oil that in every grade provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol before your engine does something to get you heated up. Castrol, engineered for today's smaller cars.
And we're back from our commercial break. So we mentioned the Judd engine earlier, Alberto. Another engine that's quite formidable in this series would be the Cosworth. But at this point, the Cosworth definitely, I think politely would be putting it, it's in its twilight years, correct?
It will improve along the session. All the engines, bar the Chevy, which was already strong from the very beginning, will be doing that. But I think the most noticeable improvements will be the Judd, and don't forget the Porsche, because we have here an incident where Pascal Mikula is not going to be able to race, and we have Bruno Chacanso doing for him. That's one of the engines that is very problematic now, but will become better at the end of the season.
Yeah, and if Pascal is watching, we would like to wish you a speedy recovery. Pascal had a slight incident in real life that has left him bruised up a bit, and he can't compete today. So we have Bruno Chacon driving in his place, which in itself is interesting because Bruno has a history with this car. He drove it. He drove it in the R-Factor version of this series, I believe.
Yes, he did. This was back in 2017, and he did several races with that car.
There he is. Oh, wait, that's Fitch, but conveniently enough, he's right next to him. Yeah, the Porsche power plant, it won one race in its time in IndyCar racing. Do you know which event that was, Alberto?
Sorry?
Do you know there was one win for the Porsche team?
In this season?
No, not in this season. In another season.
1990 was that, I believe.
Nope.
Was it in 1989?
89 at, I believe it was Mid-Ohio.
Uh-huh.
So the car did reach a point where it was very competitive, but unfortunately it was just a bit too late. Here's another driver to check out in this race, or to keep a tab on. Brian Janik driving for AJ Foyt Enterprises in the place of, I believe it's Yves Placé normally drives this car. But he has a chance to shine in this car, and he's been doing quite well in practice. Let's take a look really quickly at what's coming up at HSO in the next few weeks, or in some cases just days. Coming up on Wednesday, February 20th, this week, the BBC Top Gear Magazine Race Day, and that's the Wednesday night series. Starts at 2000 hours on the server. We'll try to get you a video recap of that, like we've been doing with the previous races. And then we go back pro car racing next Sunday, the 24th, at the Norris Ring, a track that some people love to hate, but still a very interesting challenge for these cars. I forget who said it, but it's going to be like mashing Monaco and Avis together, which is not all that inappropriate of a of an idea, considering what they're dealing with, and that's going to be on the 24th. So we looked at the drivers' points very briefly. Let's look at them one more time just to refresh everyone's memory. Richard Coxon, after his victory at Phoenix, leads with 21 points. David Jakes is right there in second, Hemmelgarn team, with 16. Peter Hlavik has 14. David Yunt has 12, and Ray Radal is right in there with 10 points. There is no Constructors' Championship in the kart series. And it's important to note that in the point scheme, you get one additional point for the pole position, which Grant has just gotten, and one additional point for leading the most laps in the race. And those are critical. So we have 5 minutes to go before the cars line up for the rolling start. The question on everybody's mind, I'm sure, is going to be how many yellows are we going to see? And Alberto and myself and others have tested the mod offline. Well, not offline, but we did it in a private testing session, and we found that the yellows were not incredibly trigger happy as they are in other mods that we're running at the moment. So I'm not going to jinx us by saying that everything's going to be fantastic, but I think we're hoping that we won't have a huge problem with yellows being triggered every 5 minutes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That's the operative word. And there you see the red Budweiser, number 1 of Richard Coxon, just ahead of Brian Janik here. Richard, as we've mentioned before, is running the Judd power plant. It's one of only 2 cars in the field running the Judd. The other one would be the car that I normally drive. We'll be returning into it next round at Milwaukee, and it's being driven by Lucas Vidra in this race. Lucas is still getting used to driving cars that don't have traction control, and these Indy cars certainly are not traction control cars. They're very much, as Rick Mears would say, your traction control is your right foot.
It certainly is, and the more so in this track. As we said, we're going to see many situations where you are accelerating from very low speed, which means that with these cars that had rather hard suspension and not much tolerance for bumps, and where the ground effects, those speeds are not yet working well, we're going to see lots of smoke rubber and lots of side section. Because, well, obviously, one thing is doing your qualifying lap or your steady lapping, and a very different thing is when you are in the heat of a battle.
Yeah, certain people are definitely going to try to get the vehicle so that it handles good on full tanks. I know that qualifying was a huge deal for some, but I know some people who are just basically going screw qualifying. They know that this is a situation where attrition is going to be very high because of the concrete walls, and so qualifying near the front maybe not as at high a premium as they think it would be, although passing it at Long Beach is going to be very difficult. It's going to be a question of waiting for OPP, in this case I mean other people's problems, to crop up, and then you'll move up the standings. So 2 minutes to go now. Won't be long before we're lining the cars up. Once we have the pace lap underway. We'll take you through the full grid. We've got 10 people online right now watching this. We're glad to have you with us. Hope you'll enjoy today's race. It's certainly going to be an eventful one, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one or two cars going down the escape road on the first lap. Right now we're watching Austin Johnson in his number 56 Gore distribution car, as he comes to a stop. I guess he's going to go to pits. There he goes. But it's certainly going to be an eventful first lap. Drivers are going to have to be very careful to not brake too late going into the first turn, because then they might have contact with somebody, which is very unfortunate. We're encouraging drivers, if they have an issue in the first turn, to please use the escape road. Of course, there's going to be a rule going into that keeps them from taking advantage of going down that escape road, because that basically allows you to skip one turn. So they're going to have to stop and wait for cars to go by before they rejoin. 1 minute to go now. My personal prediction in this race is that the Chevys will do quite well, but then again, if we have Grant at the front, we may find that it's going to be a different situation altogether. I mean, you'd like to think that the Chevys would dominate a race like this, but I think what we find in this mod, and it's a tribute to Richard Wilkes, who's driving the Bravimi field car today, that there is good parity in this mod. It seems to be that, you're not necessarily going to dominate the series if you're driving a Chevrolet.
Well, obviously, in the real situation, when you have the absolute best top drivers, as you had in IndyCar racing, and most likely in any high-level open-wheeler, the difference, even if small, between engines and performance of the chassis can be absolutely decisive. But in this case, in a mode where we are all racing and we all have our real lives and more or less talent, the differences can very well be soaked by driver talent and preparation. So what you have here is leaders like David Jacks, Grant Riddle, Austin Johnson, who are driving the cars that are certainly not the quickest in the mode, but they are able to be there in the very top, much quicker than other drivers, just because of pure talent and preparation.
Well, Grant's driving the Vince Granatelli Lola Cosworth that was driven by Roberto Guerrero, which is by no means a slow car.
It isn't, but it's going to happen in an interesting situation during this season, because Grant is going to have a very good car in the first races and then not so good one. Whereas in the case of Austin Johnson, it's going to be the opposite. So for both of them, it's going to be damage limitation when they have the worst chassis.
All right, so we're moving to
the race session. Privat is joining the track now.
95 laps around Long Beach. Get ready for excitement and adventure. This is a race that a lot of us look forward to. Me personally, I did some laps earlier, and even though I'm not racing for other reasons, I'm kind of glad that I'm in the booth and not on the track, because I'm quite certain I'd be out by lap 5.
No, you bet all the drivers are going to get a good workout today.
Oh, goodness, yeah, and lots of people will be taking a shower after the race. All right, so as soon as the cars take off, you see the Oldsmobile pace car there just ahead of the field. We will go ahead and go through the entire grid. Waiting for the last drivers to join. And here we go, off on the parade lap. So, on the pole, we have Grant Riddle. And he's driving.
Now the last car is starting.
All right, good.
Those stretches the grid.
All right, so on the pole, we have Grant Riddle in the Vince Granatelli Racing STP Lola with a Cosworth engine. Second, we have Tiago Canola from Brazil driving one of the Dick Simon entered cars. It's a Lola powered by a Cosworth as well. Third is David Jakes driving the Hemmelgarn Racing Mackenzie Financial Lola Cosworth. Fourth, in the other Dick Simon entry, is Martin Lucena. It'll be really interesting to see how he does. He's driving the other Dick Simon car. Fifth is John Thiem driving the Arcio Racing March Cosworth, so that's the top-placed March in the field. Sixth is Austin Johnson driving an ancient March powered by a Cosworth for Gore Racing. We'll see how he gets on with an aging car in this particular environment. 7th, Rob Swindells driving the Alex Morales Motorsports Jiffy Cake Mix car. 8th is David Yunt in the Rayner Racing. This is a Lola powered by a Cosworth. 9th, the first winner of this series, Richard Coxon driving the True Sports Budweiser Lola Judd. 10th, Brian Janik driving the Copenhagen AJ Foyt Enterprises Lola Cosworth. 11th, Juha Boss driving the Valvoline Gallus Racing March with a Chevy engine. 12th is Richard Wilkes, also driving for Dick Simon in the Provimi Veal Lola Cosworth. 13th, Adam Hackman driving the Craco Racing number 18 March Cosworth. 14th, Ray Radal in the Pat Patrick Racing March. We're getting really close to the start here. Hlavik is 15th, Ria Reb is 16th, 17th, Rhys Gardner, 18th, Jason Whited, 19th, David Saber, 20th. Oh, goodness. Next time I'm going to have to go faster. Getting close to the start here. Looking for the green flag. And the green flag is out. We're racing. Grant Radal gets a really, really good jump in the field. As they head down to the first turn, we'll see what happens here. Grant Radal leads. Tiago Canola second. David Jakes is in third.
Whoa.
Oh, goodness.
Yellow already.
Yellow? What the? Oh, we do. We have an incident on the start-finish straight. There is a car that's backwards. It's
Luca Vidra.
Lucas Vidra has got an incident.
There's also another car, Raul Jereb.
And Raul Jereb, yes. Raul Jereb has an incident at the very back. So we've got 2 cars involved already at the yellow. This is very unfortunate. Let's take another look at this from far away. It appears that Lucas Vidra was parked against the wall, and you can see there that the Domino's Pizza car is backwards again. So clearly,
Raul Jereb just tangled with Rhys Gardner at the start, wheel to wheel. He was thrown against the wall, and Lucas Vidra collected him.
Vidra is out of the race. Jereb is going to continue on, but he's got some serious damage on that car. If not, it looks like he's got a flat right rear on that car. You can see how much his left front is up in the air. Oh, he's having considerable difficulty getting back to the pits. He's backing up here, trying to, oh goodness, don't overheat the engine. Or was that tire smoke? In any case, he's definitely taxing that car more than he would like. So now the cars are going to be acknowledging the pace car. Grant Radal leads. Tiago Canola is second. David Jakes third. Martin Lacina fourth. Austin Johnson fifth. John Team is 6th, Rob Swindell 7th, Richard Coxon 8th, David Yunt is 9th, and Juha Boss is 10th. 11th is Brian Janik, 12th, Peter Hlavik, 13th, Adam Hackman, 14th, Richard Wilkes, 15th, Ray Radal, 16th, Rhys Gardner, who you mentioned had contact. It looks like his car is doing okay, though. I don't see any superficial damage.
Yeah, it was the hit against the wall what actually caused the damage to Raul Jereb, not in itself the contact with Rhys Gardner. Raul is now in the pits. He made it finally into them.
Good.
He was greasing the walls a bit, and he will be in for repairs, and let's see what happens now.
Since we didn't have a chance to go through the rest of the field, let me give the rest of the lineup right now. 17th is David Saber driving the Newman Haas entry. 18th is Jason Fitch in the Skull Bandit. 19th right now is Jason Whited in the Toshiba car. Running in 20th right now is your son, Little Al, in the Team Penske Pennzoil PC-17. 21st is Mick Chapman and his teammates, Little Al Miller in the Miller High Life car. Gerard Rion is driving the older March number 55, sponsored by the Machinists Union, and he is in 22nd. 23rd is Jan Kowalski in the only normally aspirated car in the field. Bruno Chacon is 24th in the Quaker State Porsche entry, and there is the 25th car of Raul Jereb in the pits. So there are 26 cars started, 25 remaining. So hopefully Raul can get that fixed. He's already 1 lap down, but this is an attrition race, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, and we should be seeing here the last lap on the caution, I believe, because this is a long track, as we said. Well, it's not
Not
huge,
really.
but it's long in terms of the time that you need to lap around it. So it's the safety car will probably be going into the pits now, as it is more than enough to clear the track.
You would
And
think
for
it would.
example, yes, and for example, you see how useful it is because Raul Jareb just limped into the pits, and this is a situation where he could actually do that thanks to the race being on the caution, because normally you would have had the very dangerous situation with the car going so slow, and in this track, because you can't see around the corner due to the walls, you would run the risk of coming out of the corner very quickly and finding there a car limping.
It's true. Raul's in a situation where now he's just basically got to stay out of trouble. It actually, paradoxically, lifts the strain from the driver because you're not in direct competition with anybody. You're just in a situation where you're trying to make laps and be around at the finish. So in a way, it may actually take some pressure off of him. We'll see. So the safety car is coming down now. We'll see if indeed everybody gets a green flag here to restart the race. We've been under yellow this entire time. So we'll see
now
what.
We're on the hairpin. This is where a true bottleneck happens.
No,
Because
we're gonna go for one more lap.
No, yeah, indeed.
Yep. All right. So looks like we're gonna be taking a break here for a bit. I'm going to use this opportunity to get some commercial breaks out of the way. We'll be right back after this brief message.
In the pizza delivery game, the Noid can zap ordinary pizzas. But Domino's Pizza delivers more than all the others combined. So when you call Domino's Pizza, you get the best delivered pizza. The Noid just can't beat the best. Domino's Pizza. Nobody delivers better.
When four-time Indy winner A.J. Foyt takes to the track, he does so on just one make of tire, the Goodyear Racing Eagle. And when A.J. Foyt takes to the street, he prefers the radial used exclusively on the Corvette, the Goodyear Eagle VR Gatorback. And not by coincidence, because Goodyear makes better high-performance tires for the track and for the street. Goodyear Eagles. They'll take you home the quick way or to the winner's circle.
Goodyear, take me home.
You know, if I've discovered one thing from driving this new Mazda 929, it's this. Not only does it measure up to the great cars of the world with its luxury and quiet, it more than measures up when you introduce it to your favorite piece of road. The new Mazda 929, a high-performance luxury sedan, the Mazda way.
And how's that for timing? We're coming back just now. Pace car goes into the pit lane, and we're going to be back under green flag racing. Waiting for that green flag. There it goes. Race is back underway.
Very late green flags we're getting at this track. It seems that the director of the race is willing to take the suspense till the very end. Let's see what happens now in turn one.
Oh, goodness.
That's already.
Here they all come through the turn. Goodness.
Oh, someone missed already. And
Oh,
hit the
goodness.
barriers.
Ray Bradal is missing his front wing, or I'm sorry, his rear wing. And we've got another yellow flag. My goodness. My goodness. So let's take a look at a replay of what happened
Jason
here.
Whited is out of the race now. Raul Jareb coming out of the pits because he had to serve a penalty. I think he exceeded the pit speed limit in the previous situation.
Here, oh goodness! Here's what happened to Ray Bradal. It appears that he was. Oh, it's Jason Whitehead. If you look, we're looking at a replay now. If you look behind, just behind Reese Gardner in the red car, you have the number 24 car, which ran into. Or no, wait. Hang on a second. Oh my goodness, I'm afraid your son may be the culprit here, Alberto. I'm sorry to say. runs into the back of Jason Whitehead, who then runs into Richard Wilkes, who then runs into Ray Riddall and knocks off his rear wing. So it was a cascade of events that led to Ray losing his rear wing. Let's take one more look at it here. And this is the danger when you're coming down to this turn. If you brake just a little bit late, there was almost an incident there with David Saber. He had to jump out of the way of the back of Wilkes' car, but there you see the chain reaction accident. Very unfortunate for everybody involved. That's not the way you want to start a race like this. Not cool.
Yes, and this is you usually have a reference for the braking there, but then when there are more cars in front of you, then the reference is no longer valid. You have to brake earlier.
Well, it's really unfortunate for Ray, who now, I believe, because the pits are closed, he has to circulate around without a rear wing. At these low speeds, it shouldn't be too big of a problem, but he's going to have to come in, and he's going to be joining the ranks of Rally Areb as not having a good chance of finishing up high unless more people are out of the race. But we're already 2 yellows in, and it's not even lap 7. So who knows? It could certainly be a problem. People have really got to calm down here. We're going to have, this is going to be a running story here. All right, well, seeing as this, it appears that he's going to have to go to the pits for repair, and this is going to be a lengthy yellow, I would think. We're going to use this opportunity to take another commercial break. You're watching the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. We'll be right back after these messages.
Mr. Potato Head and his bucket of parts, new from Play School.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
At Indy and on the kart circuit, they have a rule. You can't add motor oil during a race. And they enforce it. Right? At Indy, they seal the crankcase. Which brings me to Ray Hall's rule. Never use less than the best. Sure, I drive for Budweiser, but I drive with Valvoline. Over the past 5 years, 7 out of 10 Indy kart drivers have also chosen Valvoline. Is motor oil just motor oil?
Not if you live by Ray Hall's rule.
All right, we're back. And it appears that we got 2 cars in the pits right now. That would be Little Al, and he's taking care of damage. And is that Reese Gardner in the other car? And we also have, oh, there goes, okay, now we're going back to green flag racing. Coming down for the green again, Grant Riddall's leading. We'll see if we can maintain green for a bit here. Cars coming into the, oh goodness, 3 cars contesting coming in here. It looks like we're finally going to get a start here that's not plagued by yellows. Grant Riddall leads. Tiago Canola is second. Third is David Jakes. Martin Lucena fourth. Austin Johnson fifth. Rob Swindell's is sixth. And Richard Coxon is in 7th place. Now on board with David Jakes, who's stalking Tiago Canola. I think David Jakes is a person that we would pick to do really well in this race, Alberto.
Sorry.
Saying about David Jakes, who's now stalking Tiago Canola. Looks like we're finally going to get some green flag laps in here. I think David Jakes is picked to do really well in this race.
Austin Johnson now coming in the slipstream from Martin Lasina.
David Jakes tries to overtake but cannot. And yes, you're right. Austin Johnson goes up to third place.
Well, that's
not
an easy maneuver to pull on Martin Lasina.
Yeah, very difficult to pull on Martin Lasina. Let's have a replay of that. They were coming down the long straightaway, and he does a really, really nice textbook pass here. Pulls out and is able to get alongside. That's as beautiful a pass as you will see at Long Beach. But Martin
Vidal already opening a gap there.
Yeah, he is. He's already 5 seconds in front of Tiago, who's got another 3 seconds on David Jakes. We're watching now a very spirited battle raging behind Martin Lasina as he is stalking Austin Johnson. And right in the thick of it here is Richard Coxon, our championship leader.
He's certainly trying to... Oh, what happened there?
Oh, we've got another yellow. Oh, goodness. So what's the culprit this time?
I don't see any car that has crashed.
Oh, goodness, I think we just found it. Hang on a second, I'm gonna...
I haven't seen any accident at all.
I don't know. It's hard to see. It appears the accident happened in the shoot.
There's several cars who have quit because Reese was in the pits for repairs, and he is now in the garage. Same as little Alberto. Jason White did already had quit. Same as Luca Vitra, so I'm not sure what triggered this yellow.
It appears that it was an incident that happened on the backside. I could hear that it might have had something to do with the Chevy stock block car. Because if I look back through the field, yeah. Now let's see, the Chevy stock block car is still running, so I'm not entirely sure what happened. That's the difficulty on a course like this. Things happen so fast. Gardner's out. Alberto Aquino is out. Jason Whitehead is out. Lucas Vidra's out. Grant Riddall continues to lead. My goodness. Well, this is going to throw a lot of fuel consumption concerns out the window, I would say.
Yeah, it certainly will, because everybody will be here obviously using way less fuel than normally. And so what I'm really waiting to see is how this affects the strategy.
Yeah, strategy is going to be...
Because, for example, I was thinking about Richard Coxon with the jet engine. Obviously, his main strength is exactly that, having less fuel consumption. And in this case, this is going to, well, cost him more than the other drivers, because he obviously must have a strategy that is based in stopping less or stretching more the stops. But so far we haven't seen anybody in the leaders pitting for fuel, which is normal because we have only done 10 laps and it's way too early to stop here.
You might see some people come into pits from the very back because this, I mean, not the people who are obviously down laps. Well, maybe them too, because it's a chance to get more fuel into the car and in theory extend your window. Well,
I can remember in 2017 when Alan Forster won the first race at Phoenix. he had a very peculiar strategy, and that was every time there was a yellow, I picked. So even if he just put 1 or 2 or 3 gallons or whatever, at some point, what happened was that there was no yellow when everybody really had to pit except him. And that put him in the lead, and well, coupled obviously with his skill driving that allowed him to retain that lead. What happened there was that he was able to stay in front, gain an advantage, and he won the race.
Well, we'll take another quick commercial break. Again, for the benefit of our audience, Grant Riddall leads with Thiago in second. We'll be right back after this message.
When first I become citizen, I studied American culture very closely. Hey, score touchdown for me, big guy. Now I'm expert on all things American, except gasoline. But I don't need to know about gasoline. My car knows. What a country.
Amoco Ultimate, rated the best gasoline you can buy.
In Russia, cars also know, but they can't say.
Race flags, it's the Budweiser U.S. Hot Rod Truck Winter Championships. Blasting into the Central. January 13th, 14th, and 15th. It's incredible wheel standing, blowing two-wheel drive trick trucks. Plus Hot Rod four-wheel drive traction. Action. Then it's the Ford versus Chevy battle of the monster trucks and monster tanks. Plus a dragster funny car side-by-side. Screaming shootout. Tickets now. The Central Box Office and all Ticketmaster locations. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. January 13th, 14th, and 15th. The Central. It's non-stop. Action.
And we're back just in time. Green flag is out. Grant Riddall leads back to the first turn. My goodness, lots of jockeying back there.
Whoa, and one car almost got airborne. That was David John, because I think he tangled wheels there with two Boss.
Oh my goodness! Lots and lots and lots of craziness going on. Thiago, Jakes, Johnson, Coxon. Lots and lots of craziness going on in the back of the field. Kowalski seems to be going okay, despite the fact we did get confirmation that he was in an incident that caused the yellow, the last one. Here they come down Seaside now. Everybody, I think, is probably getting tired of these yellows, and they want to get to a point where they're actually racing for a bit. As
what we really need is
oh goodness, we got another car spinning in the background. It is the Machinist Union Schaefer car, number 11, Peter Hlavek.
Yeah, Peter Hlavek is in counter direction.
Yes, he's turned around. It looks like he's going to get the car going again. Oh goodness, we've got a car that blew an engine on the front straight. We can see the black smoke. So all manner of craziness is happening here.
Mick Chapman.
Mick Chapman.
And he almost was collected there. Oh my goodness. What an eventful race. He's
I'll say, yeah,
he's
all right.
Topping out of the racing line so as to be able to not to cause a yellow, and well, there you got good proof of what we were saying. I mean, in these incidents we had no yellows at all. I mean, the sensitivity is okay. It's just that we have had, well, first of all, accidents at some point, and then very unfortunate coincidences. And Raul Jerev, what the hell? That car is not really handling well. He's in the middle of everything. Even Jan Kowalski is trying to overtake him.
All right, let's take a look at what happened here to Peter Hlavek. It appears that he just lost it coming out of the hairpin, getting it on the power. Let's have one more look. But look at this. After he has this incident, okay, let's see. Here it is. Actually, yeah, it looks like he lost it on his own. At first, I thought he might have been tapped from behind, but I don't think that's the case. No, he just got on the accelerator too fast. But look at this. He does a good job of not being in anybody's way. He rolls backwards a little bit and waits for the traffic to clear. and then does a little spin to get back going the right way. So good job on the part of Peter Hlavik to not compound a situation and make it worse.
And now things are really complicated for Rob. Oh, Jason Spitz just spun.
Uh-oh.
He's in between walls and trying to get the car pointing in the right direction now.
Let's have a replay of this going on to the backside of the course.
Finally got it right, and he's back in the race again.
I think this is a similar situation to what we saw with other cars coming into this section. If you have the car geared a bit too low, and if the tires are still cold, yep, there he goes, right underneath the parking garage at the Hyatt. So good to see that he got it back going again.
And meanwhile in the front, Martin Lacina is trying to put some pressure on John Tim, who is trying to block him.
Oh goodness, he's looking down the inside right now, going into the hotel section. Doesn't quite have the room to do it. John Team doing an excellent job of defending here, but as they come out of that section, oh goodness.
And classic David Chant right behind, close enough to benefit from any error, but also far enough to not get tangled in any eventful. Oh, and someone right behind is going there on the brakes, down on the brakes. That was Ross Swindell's passing Juha Boss.
Oh goodness, so people are starting to find their rhythm here finally. As we go into final turn here, heading down Shoreline Drive, you're riding on board with David David Yunt in the Rayner racing car, crossing the start-finish line. And with all the zaniness that's gone on, Richard Coxon has found his way up to 5th place. But David Jakes is still looking at Tiago Canola here. We'll see if he's able to get by him in the next few laps, because he knows that as long as he's stuck behind Tiago, it's letting Grant Riddall get away.
Not that anybody seems to be able to catch Grant Riddall today, to be honest.
No, but again, anytime there's a yellow flag, it just wipes out the lead that Grant Riddall has, and I think...
yes, it does, and at some point it might very well happen that it causes him trouble if he had pit on the green or is in need of pitting. I mean, as we already said, the yellows, the timing of the yellows here, the randomness that they add to the race are going to be quite decisive.
All right, so David Jakes is shadowing Tiago Canola now. Looks like he may have a chance to overtake, comes to the inside, takes the line away, and he goes up one position. Excellent, excellent pass by David Jakes. Second place now. Tiago
very
running
skillful,
third.
very well executed.
Very, very well executed.
So Martin Lacina is back behind John Tim. And John is really making his car wide there. They're in the twisty section now.
Oh yes, he is. Now they're heading back onto Seaside.
John is just keeping his line and being there very steady.
Looks like he's going to make...
Yes, look at that. Martin Lacina found the space. Obviously, John was not blocking him purposely. It's just the nature of this track, and well, these cars that are 2 meters wide, which is quite a big.
Well, we'll see if Team can counterattack down the straight here. He has a slow exit from the hairpin, but we'll see what happens.
It seems that he has a bigger top speed in the straight.
Lower wings. Look at Tiago there protecting the inside. No, it's not going to happen here, but Team is now coming under attack from David Yunt, who has caught up to this group. See if David can work his way forward. David's actually running a 1987 Lola, not the 88 that the Rayner team typically runs. So he may find that a bit of a hampering thing on this street course, but nevertheless, David's a very talented driver. I would not expect him to be a slouch in this race.
No, he certainly won't. And behind them is also Juha Boss fighting it out with Brian Janik, who is starting to get impatient. Brian Janik is driving good old AJ Foyt's car.
Braking, downshifting at the end of Seaside. Yes, Brian is following Juha. This is an interesting battle between power plants here. The Cosworth.
Yeah, this is a situation where the March 88 that Juha is driving has a worse chassis than the Lola T88 from Brian Janik, but it has the more powerful Chevy engine.
Yes.
Which should allow Juha to stay in front just here in the straights. As we are seeing, even in the slipstream, Brian Janik isn't able to overtake.
No, he's it's being Juha's benefiting from the power of that Chevrolet Ilmor engine, which is being used by the Penske, Newman, Haas, Patrick, and Gallus teams. 720 horsepower, has very good mid-range power, and it's lighter than the aging Cosworth.
So in the meantime, that's allowing Adam Hackman to catch up with them. He's not that far behind, and I see from the lap times that he's getting closer.
Yes, you just see him in the back portion of the picture there. Hackman driving the Krakow number 18. He's going to be with this group before
Peter
long.
Labak in the pits now.
Uh-oh.
No, he's quit. He's in the garage.
Oh goodness, he's had a
what happened there?
perhaps a disco.
Now?
Not entirely sure.
Yeah, probably a disco because
That's
the car
too
somehow
bad.
disappeared behind the wall.
Okay, now it looks like Brian Janik might have a run here. Coming down the long straight. Potentially might have a chance here, although I don't know, he's a bit far back. Yeah, he's too far back to actually make an attempt here.
He is, yes. So
Meanwhile,
Jason Fitz, whoa, Jason Fitz nearly collected Gerard Rion
Oh,
there.
Yunt is having he's all over the back of team, and he's looking for a way to get by. Nearly had a bid to overtake at the turn that leads onto Pine Street, but just didn't do it. Now they're coming down Seaside. He's definitely getting impatient behind John Team. Looking for a way to get by. The right-hander at the end of Seaside now into the Indy left, which leads to the hairpin. This is going to be critical here. Who has the better exit from the hairpin?
Watch out now, because Martin Lacina is also catching up with Richard Coxon. Now that they have been racing on the green for some time, the differences between cars are starting to get obvious, and Richard is suffering a lot here in the straights.
All right, so here goes David Yunt. It looks like he's going to make an attempt to pass at the end of the straight here. Slips to the inside. Oh! Slight contact between the left front and right rear. There's just not enough room there. John Team held his line. And that's good close racing there, because he could have easily just let David go by, but John did an excellent job of defending his spot there, and he's going to do the exact same thing here. He's seen this movie before. He knows that that's his line and that David Yunt is not all the way alongside, so he's going to hang on there and just stay in the position he's in. This reminds me of a battle that Brian Till had with Tony Bettenhausen on this circuit in 1992. Till climbing all over the back of Bettenhausen. And despite the fact that he was quicker, many times Bettenhausen just kept his line and he was able to stay ahead. And in this instance, it looks like, well, he closes down quite a lot under braking at the hairpin. We'll see if he's able to pass him now. He's got another opportunity here, and he's right close behind him.
And I gather that John Team has less wing than David John, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible for him to stay in front here with the slipstream.
Well,
he's
certainly
a long enough straight.
Oh, look at this. He's trying the outside, but he's going to get boxed in by Bruno Chacon.
Yeah,
my goodness.
That was one that John Team saw coming.
Yeah,
he skillfully used Bruno Chacon to protect the position.
Wow, that is using the traffic if I've ever seen it before.
It is.
That should go into a textbook. Oh, goodness. Richard Coxon has had an incident against the wall by the Hyatt, and it has allowed these two cars to catch up immediately. So this is going to become a three-car battle right away. And as you've already pointed out, Richard Coxon's car does not have the straight line speed of a Chevrolet or a Cosworth. These are two Cosworths that are fighting him. David Yunt finally gets by John Team into the Indy left and now onto the hairpin section. So we're going to see very quickly here what's going to happen.
Richard's going abnormally slow here.
Yeah, something might be wrong with his car. He might have a damage of some kind. Coming down the long straight here, he's probably going to be easy pickings from David Yunt's point of view. I don't know. Well, he's fading to the left here. Richard fades to the. There he goes. He's gonna get him right here.
It's a huge speed differential there, and Richard's not going to make it any harder for David. Doesn't make any sense.
So David Yunt.
Look at John Team now.
Oh, John Team now looking for a way to get by, trying a pass that got Allenser Jr. in trouble with Mario Andretti in 1989, but now it looks as if Richard's going to be able to hold him off here for a bit. But this is David Yunt is loving this because it gives a gap between himself.
Yeah, and Rob Swindels is also catching up with them, which indicates that Richard is certainly going quite slow. Not normal at all, and this is going.
Oh!
Well. I mean, he should be able to finish the race. It doesn't seem as if the car is terminally damaged, but this is going to hurt a lot in terms of championship points.
They're having to bypass Gerard Rion here, who has lost his front wing. He's getting out of the way as best he can, but he's going to probably be going into the pits in a minute here. Rob Swindels gets by as well. John Team now is going to try to go up one position and see if he can catch back up with David Yunt as they come down the long straight. Coxon's letting him go, so clearly Richard Coxon has got some kind of a problem with his car.
Yes, Richard had been doing steady, very steady 1.10 minutes around the track, but then all of a sudden he got 1.15 in the lap where you mentioned the incident with the wall, and then from then on it was 1.12 and even worse. So indeed there seems to be some damage in his car, or flat spotting in the tires or whatever, but that car is already past his prime, that's for sure.
Well, he is going to have the benefit of pit stops. I mean, if they happen under yellow, maybe he can get some damage.
Wait a moment, the car there went out. That's Gerard Rion.
Yes, I mentioned just a bit ago.
The front wing.
He's lost his rear wing, and oh goodness, John Team missed the.
Oh, and now we got a yellow again.
Oh,
I think that's because Gerard Rion reversed into the track.
Well, all it takes is little things like that, so to cause a yellow. So while the cars are now going to be, well, Grant has not yet come back to the front. Eventually he will, and he will pick up the pace car. But he's leading right now, and that's going to obliterate his lead of 9 seconds that he has on David Jakes. Tiago is third, Austin Johnson fourth, Martin Lucena fifth, David Yunt sixth, Richard Coxon, despite his problems, is still in seventh place. Rob Swindels is eighth, Juha Boss ninth, and John Team is 10th.
I believe we should be starting to see some pit stops here.
I would think so.
Strategic reasons, maybe Richard risks it, because with the low fuel consumption, and if he's not able to fight for position, this could be a strategy for him. Try to be always the last man there out.
Well, this is good news for, I believe that's Kowalski driving the... driving the number 19 car, because he's going to get to go around and stay on the lap that he's on. Yeah, the pace car's letting him go by.
Taking the safety car, yes.
Yes, the pace car's going to wave him by because it's supposed to pick up the leader. Good job by the pace car. And so there goes the stock block accelerating away, trying to make up room. So we're going to have to see now what happens. Normally now we would take a commercial break, but I think Alberto is right. It's probably best to watch closely the field, because there's going to be some people, I think, inevitably, who will take this opportunity to go into the pits, because this is probably an opportunity that there's not going to be many of later on in the race. And as we all know, taking a pit stop under yellow is a lot better to do than it is under green.
And watch out, because Gerard Rion just went past the pit entry without the front wing, and that's likely because the pits are not open for him yet.
No, they're not. He's a few laps down, so he's going to have to circulate with that damaged car for another lap, which is an unfortunate...
Yeah, the leader is now behind the safety car. We'll see what Grant does, but it would surprise me much if he would go into the pits now. But let's see what happens. He's at the hairpin now, right behind the safety car. And this is a moment of truth because the pits are now open.
Pits
So
are
let's
open.
see.
David Jakes is going in. So is
No,
Grant.
everybody's going there.
Yeah,
for the
everybody is coming into the pits. This is not a huge surprise at all.
Well, I must tell you, it was a bit of a surprise for me. But yeah, they probably don't want to gamble too much.
Yep.
They could have stayed out. But
Now, there are quite a few who have stayed on the track at this point. Martin Lucena assumes the lead. David Yunt is second. David Jakes is still third in spite of where he is. Austin Johnson, oh my goodness! 3 of them come out at the same time. It looks like Austin Johnson may actually make it out ahead of that group. John Team is into the pits as well.
yeah, Austin is very experienced with oval racing and in general competition.
Hackman is in.
run
Juha
under-
Boss is in.
under caution.
So is Rob Swindell. So is Richard Coxon.
He was able to get out quicker.
So here are the cars
Wow.
emerging from the pits now.
Yeah, they are sorting the race order now between them, because obviously race control is setting them up in the proper order. Gerard Rion still without the front wing, but now already close to the pit entry and obviously going for repairs at this point. But lapped cars can't lap at the same time in the same lap as the leaders, so this is the
User
situation
joined
that
your
has
channel.
forced Gerard Rion to actually do 1 extra lap. And what job by Peter Labak? Peter, what happened? Disco?
Yeah, fortunately.
Oh, really unfortunate. We saw that your car suddenly disappearing and we already suspected that.
Yeah, well, it was a frustrating weekend from the very start till the bitter end. Sorry. So yeah, the qualifying was horrible for me. I don't know how is that even possible, but qualifying on 15th and not being able to make anything with it, it hasn't happened for quite some time.
Well, you're driving
Yeah,
a
this is
March.
not the easiest track.
A March is not the most ideal car for this type of track, so there's part of the answer.
Okay, well that makes it a little better. I thought it was just purely me sucking badly.
No, it's. I think a lot of people had better machinery for this particular race than you did. That probably won't be the case though on the ovals. So
we'll see. Well, I was quite surprised that after those 3 yellow phases or yellow cautions, I believe up to 6th until I screwed up badly in the hairpin, which put me all the way back to the field. But yeah, then the disconnection, I believe it saved me from another frustration.
well, we're sorry that you're out of the race, Peter, but at least now you'll get to watch the broadcast.
Yep, definitely. I'm turning it on.
All right. Well, we'll have a quick look at the front of the order here. Martin Lucena, he did not take a pit stop, and that elevated him to a lead. Unless there's another yellow in the next few laps, that might be a decision he's going to regret. What do you think, Alberto?
It's really hard to tell. Remember that all those that have pit now, what they are basically doing is they are gambling in that they expect another, not that there won't be another yellow, whereas those who have stayed in the tracks, they are gambling on the opposite thing. Obviously, they think there will be a yellow soon enough so that they can pit under yellow. So let's see who is right here, but well, high stakes. They are gambling now. With the track, with not so many cars in the track, you would expect that triggering a yellow is harder now. So let's see what happens.
You'd be surprised, though, coming down for this green flag. Everybody wants to get an advantage. The red mist can have quite a psychological impact. So the pace cars should be coming into the pits now. We should be going back to green now for a start. I saw people weaving back and forth. They're getting the green really late. And Lucena's backing them really up here.
Now we get it, yes.
All right, restart on lap number 30. Martin Lucena leads. David Yunt is in second. They're both running, well, they're running the same engine, but not the same chassis. David Yunt looks to the inside, but just simply doesn't have enough room. David Saber is third in the Chevy-powered Lola, number 6. Brian Janik all the way up to 4th. Grant Riddall 5th, Jan Kowalski 6th, David Jakes
Oh,
7th.
and Brad Riddle is there in the middle of the track slow. He probably missed the braking point, but everybody gets by for easily. Now, Kowalski is blocking David Jakes in a weird manner. You wouldn't expect this from a car that is... Well, he's not a lap down, technically, I believe, because he's not being shown the blue flags, but... Well, this isn't too logical at all to see that. Richard Coxon is meanwhile behind David Jakes. I'm not sure, but he must have stopped Richard Coxon, because otherwise...
Yes, he did. He made a pit stop. We saw him.
Well,
in the pit
let's
lane.
see if the tires now have solved the situation for him. Oh, and Raul Jareb is there in the middle. He's going also very slow.
Oh my
with
goodness!
His damaged car, and yeah, people are trying to go left and right from him so as not to lose the other cars in front they are fighting with.
Lucena stays in the lead.
And watch out, because now Coxon, Team Swindles, that's going to be hot at the end of the braking zone. Team nearly going below Richard Coxon's rear wing. He doesn't probably notice Swindles was on the right, on the left. Sorry.
Team is coming up on the inside, and looks like he's going to take the position away. He does. There's slight contact. Oh, and there goes... Oh, it was
now
Rob
that
Swindles.
traffic, because Raul Jareb is much slower with the damaged car. Swindles getting through also. Team Canola Swindles, they are there in a little train, and they are not going to want to be held by other cars.
It's true. So this is the kind of thing that we talk about where yellows breed yellows. You don't like to see it, but it's far likely. Now here's Ray Riddall trying to overtake.
Oh, Kowalski hits the wall, loses the front wing, and it's pure luck that he didn't collect someone.
My goodness. So now he's driving a lame car. Gets out of the way. He's going to have to go for the pit lane now. Hopefully he doesn't cause any more trouble. Oh no, he's going to continue on with that front wing.
He probably missed. What happens here is that he missed the pit entry, and it's
he bounces off the wall now.
Yeah, it's not allowed to cross the racing line to go for the pits, so he has to do a full lap now.
Looks as if he's got a severely damaged car now. He's crabbing a lot because the impact. Oh, and we've got a yellow. And
yes.
But this is not for what you would. Well, he goes into the wall, but also Raul Jareb is spinning in there, so the yellow might have been caused by Raul. It's hard to tell. So that freezes the field as of right now, and we have Martin Lucena. That's really interesting. Martin Lucena maintained his lead. And David Yunt was not...
Austin Johnson has no front wing. I see his car is damaged. And more people in the pits. Bruno Chacon and Ray Riddle.
Yeah, but the pits are closed right now.
Yeah, that's... Something's weird going on here.
Well, they may have already been in the pits before the yellow came out.
That could very well be the case, but it's a long stop now. They're probably repairing damage in any case.
Oh yeah, see right there. Austin Johnson slowed down to try to go in the pits, but he then suddenly realized that he couldn't because the pits are closed. So definitely, I think if Chacon and those others were in the pits, it was because they had already been there to start with. So we're looking at least 2 laps of caution here. Martin Lucena leading with David Yunt in second. Grant Riddall is up to third now after all this, and Brian Janik is in fourth. David Jakes is in fifth. David Saber sixth. Juha Boss is seventh, and John Team is 10th.
We've already got the answer to the question we were posing previously. David Yunt and Martin Lucena did well, because they gained the position there, and they could stay out in the track, hoping for another yellow that finally happened.
Well, there you go. So we'll see if that benefits them after we come back from this commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
All week long, you've been thinking about today. It's race day. Time to kick back and taste the highlight. Now the sun's hot. The Miller High Life's cold. The cars are ready. And And so are you.
Stop and taste the high life.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
The Toyota Camry. Beyond the test to ensure it has all the comforts you'd expect to find in a superb family sedan, we also tested for a few things you might not expect. Because at Toyota, we know there are enough things in life to slow you down without your car being one of them.
And we're back. So, Alberto, the question now becomes, why isn't Martin Lucena going into the pits?
Well, he's obviously gambling on another yellow. But, well, Bruno Chacon now coming out of the pits. Finally, it's been a long repair for him. I guess that should also be the case for Ray Riddle. Was wondering during your break. No, Ray Riddle has finally quit. Seems that the repairs were not completed, and he's out. And well, we have so many cars already out. Only 16 cars now on track.
That's a massive drop in number of cars on track. It's like 10 that have retired.
So let us go through the order again, because with all these fuels and the pit stops, I think it will be good to remind everybody how things are going. So first is Martin Lucena, second David John. Both of them have not stopped yet, as far as I think, or David John. I'm not sure if David John has stopped, but I don't think so. Then it's Grant Riddle, David Jacks, who have certainly stopped. David Sabre, who is now up, and he hasn't stopped, obviously, because otherwise he would have been way further back. Juha Boss, John Tim. Penalty for... what's this? We got the green again, and there's penalty for Austin Johnson.
Perhaps speeding in the pits. Oh, goodness. Lots of... contact between Juha Boss and I believe it was John Team. John Team trying to get by on the inside, but we're back to green flag racing, obviously. This is a... David Yunt is in the lead now. So he was just able to get the jump on... here's a replay coming down to the first turn. We'll see how this happened. And he did it under braking. Martin Lucena tried to... well, he protected the inside, but then got too deep, and Martin Lucena touched the wall, so he has damage now, you've got to assume. So here they come down Seaside now. And we'll have a look at the whole field here as they're coming into the hairpin section. David Yunt leads. Martin Lucena second. Grant Riddle third. David Jakes fourth. David Sabre is in fifth. Juha Boss sixth. Richard Coxon seventh. Rob Swindell's eighth. Adam Hackman ninth. And Brian Janik is 10th.
And it seems that Martin has a really good top speed. Probably very low wings, because Grant Riddle had a better exit from the turn, and yet he was unable to overtake Martin Lucena. Martin is, however, locking a lot the wheels, which seems to indicate that he has some kind of flat spot there.
Well, that wouldn't be a surprise to me, because he did glance off the left wall going into turn one quite severely. So he's probably dealing with, he's smoking now a lot, so he's probably dealing with some kind of damage. Grant
and
Riddle
Nola now trying to overtake Juha Boss, almost there. He doesn't want to lose the train with the quicker drivers.
No, he does not.
Also getting quite impatient behind, and also Richard Coxon, who is right behind him in that position.
I'm surprised, I gotta say, because the fact that they've already taken a pit stop should make them feel a bit more secure. Because there are people ahead of them that are going to have to stop anyway, and that may be under green. So there's really no sense, at least in my estimation, of taking excessive risk when you know that you've got several seconds in hand, more than several, when the people in front of you are going to be pitting.
Yeah, Austin Johnson has come out of the pits now after serving his drive-through penalty. He's now 15th, but hasn't lost a lap, I believe. So as long as he stays in the lead lap, he should be able to. Oh, Raul Jareb just lost the front wing.
Oh no! Grant Ridal has
Yeah,
gotten
that
by
car's
Martin
handling.
Lucina, so Lucina, I believe, is definitely dealing with some kind of damage, and now he's got David Jakes closing up behind him. So before long, well, you know, Lucina did stay out of the pits for a bit, so if he has to repair any damage, at least he can do it on the stop that he's going to take. But as we all know, repairs in these cars do not take. Oh, he glances off the wall again going into Seaside. So he's definitely fighting something in the car. Hopefully, for him, it is merely a flat spot on one of his tires. And if that's the case, then he can just replace the tires and take care of that problem. But my thought would be that it's actually more than that. It's probably suspension as well.
Yeah, and the fact of Lucina having held up a bit Grant Ridal has enabled David John to open a bit of a gap. But Grant is now starting to get into his rhythm and going quick. Though David John just did the quickest lap. Not sure if that's because of the fuel load.
Well, we'll see.
David Jack's now right behind Martin Lucina.
Yeah,
That's his turn to try to overtake.
Yeah, he's definitely looking to overtake.
And I think that the one who has benefited the most from all this mayhem has been David Sauber, who very discreetly has been there lapping without getting involved in any accident, and now is in 5th position, even if he is about to lose it to Thiago Canola, who is driving very quick behind.
Yes,
but still, it's a very marked improvement for David Sauber, who had qualified, I think it was 20th or 21st, something like that.
So we'll see if Thiago can get a good exit off of the hairpin here and perhaps overtake David Saber. Say exit. But remember that David Saber is running that. Oh, goodness, David loses a lot of momentum in the shifting there. But he is driving a Chevrolet, and he's got extra power compared to Thiago, and that may prove to be the difference. Yeah, you can see it here. He's got more horsepower than Thiago. Thiago's going for it, though, down the inside. I don't know if that was such a good idea. Well, he just managed to do it, but that was pretty risky, just diving down the inside like that without any kind of having gotten alongside him before that corner. What's your opinion of that, Alberto?
Hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's racing after all.
Yep, no kidding.
So all of them are doing their best.
Meanwhile, Juha Boss is climbing all over the back of Rob Swindells, and Coxon is with this group as well. So Juha's looking to move up through the field here. But Coxon's now getting really close to him, so got a good 3-car battle happening here.
Yeah, this is the short straight, but anyway, it's more than enough for a Chevy engine to show its power and leave the Dude behind. We should be seeing the same thing now in the front stretch. Though Richard's car has better traction coming out of the corner, but by the mid of the front straight, Juha Boss, look at that, he has already opened the gap, and that's even if Richard Coxon has the slipstream. Right behind them are Adam Hackman and Brian Janik. Then it's Richard Wilkes and John Tim. Finally,
so
Austin Johnson, who is trying to get back what he lost there with that stop and go, hoping probably for another yellow that punches up the field again and gives him a chance at starting overtakings.
David Jakes is getting very close to Martin Lucina now under braking. Looks like he may have a chance to overtake at some point.
Yeah, he has been for a while, and he's a bit probably not desperate, but already starting to be worried, because all this is basically enabling Grant Ridal to escape, who is already right behind David John.
Lucina drives on the inside of the track. Looks like he's trying to defend his position against David Jakes, but Jakes attempts to go by on the outside, doesn't quite work. He's certainly got some speed compared to Martin Lucina. He just has to look for the proper place by, but now it's going to take him a while. It's going to be until at least Seaside when he gets another chance.
Yeah,
and
and
he's
as
right
we
with
have
him.
said many times, overtaking Lacina on the brakes is not exactly the easiest thing.
Great racing here, though, between these two. They're running the same equipment, I believe. Lola's 88 model powered by a Cosworth DFX.
So meanwhile behind, I should say that Juha Boss has already been overtaken by Rob Swindells and Richard Coxon.
Well, we've got a battle for the lead brewing here, though, between Grant.
Oh, Richard just made a move and overtook Swindells also.
It looks like Grant is going to have an opportunity here to overtake David Yunt. He's got great purchase coming off of the corner. These two are both running Cosworth engines. The difference is that David is running a year-old Lola as opposed to the 88, which will cut through the air better down the straightaway here. It's got a narrower cockpit than the 87 model into the first turn. Grant didn't quite have the room that he needed. He looks on the inside now, but it's, oh goodness. I'm glad he backed out of that because that was not going to work.
I think he was trying to force Junt to close the trajectory and get a not so clean exit out of the turn.
Perhaps.
Because, you know, overtaking here is a bit like chess play.
Basically, yeah.
You have to set up the other car. You have to force him into doing something different.
Oh, he's got a good chance here, I think. Coming down Seaside, pulls out, gets alongside. Looks like he's got the lead now. Coming in. Oh, goodness. David Yunt defends it, and wow, that was probably the best.
That was a very clean defense because he also gave lots of room to Grant Ridal. They basically did the
good
turn
driving,
too wide.
and I mean, that was good and clean and hard racing there.
Yeah, David is someone that you can certainly trust when you're in these kind of battles. That's for sure.
All right. Grant's got a good toe coming down the straightaway here. I still think he's too far behind. Oh, goodness. And at the same time, look at this. Lacina is driving on the inside, going down to the first corner, trying to keep Jakes behind him. I think Jakes might be getting a little bit frustrated now because Lacina's definitely taking a defensive line in those corners. Yeah, Jakes is absolutely all over the back of Lacina and is definitely losing ground to the leaders. So the red mist, well, David's a pretty cool guy. I doubt he's going to let this get him too aggravated, but he clearly is anxious about the time he's losing. You can see him
and behind them is Richard Coxon still able to retain the lead in that small group.
Grant.
Juha Boss and Rob Swindells behind him, trading positions, but Coxon is still in the lead in that small group. He's now trying to overtake David Saber, who probably has a lighter car and also a Chevy powered one, so this is going to be a steep mountain to climb for Richard.
All right, coming down Shoreline now, Grant in second, and he's got an excellent positioning with David Yunt. He's got the toe. He's going to look on the outside here, of all places. Brakes late. Looks like he's going to sweep by. Oh, man! Just barely.
David tried to go for the inside. He pressed the wall.
Yeah.
He was there too eager to get the possession back.
Well, Grant, that was a beautiful pass on the outside. I mean, you can do that if you time it exactly right, because the next corner coming up is a left-hander, and he was in the right spot. But yes, of course, David just didn't have the room to counterattack in that situation. So Grant Ridal now leads. They're coming up to Bruno Chacon as he lets them by. Bruno, of course, a guy who is known for finishing and known for not giving up. And I would think that that's very appropriate for the car that he's driving, because you know what they say about Quaker State engines, right, Alberto?
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
That's right.
So now Grant's on the lead again, and unless he makes an error, he is pretty well set up to continue like that.
Here's another overtaking attempt by Jakes on the outside. Not enough room to do it there. He's doing exactly the same thing that Grant did earlier, or he's trying to do the same thing now, but it's just not working.
And all this situation is allowing Thiago Canola to catch up, so it soon might become a three-wide battle, and that's not going to be comfortable at all for David Jacks.
No, that's a very good point, because just behind him, he's got Thiago Canola, another Dick Simon car, and it's going to be a Dick Simon sandwich in a second
Whoa,
here.
and Coxon managed to get by David Sauer's car. I think Coxon's problem was very likely the tires. Now that he has fresh ones.
Martin Lucina has just glanced off the wall at the end of Seaside. That's definitely going to do damage, and now it's just a matter of, I mean, at this point, if you're David Jakes, you should know that there's blood in the water, and you should be basically just waiting for the right time.
Yeah, the pressure that he's putting on Martin Lucina is starting to pay dividends. Martin is not... What's he doing? He's doing S's there. He's changing the line.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not... Okay, you know what? I'm not too thrilled with Martin's driving at the moment, because he's... he is changing the line more than one time going down the straight, and that's really not something that is typical in HSO driving standards, so we'll have to see what the race stewards have to say after this. Jake's looking for another way by now. Clearly, Lucina's driving a lame car. Not lame in terms of the colloquialism, lame in terms of physically damaged. So I think that's going to be compounding David Jakes' frustration in the fact that Lucina's making his car very wide on Shoreline Drive, and at the same time, Jakes backs off quite a lot there. I wonder if he's suddenly having some sort of a problem, or maybe he's just taking a breather from this situation.
He's probably trying to cool down a bit the tires, because he's seeing that Martin is quite uncontrolled, that the car is damaged and Martin is not able to keep it straight, and he's willing to let's say, take a step back and start from then.
I think that's really, really smart driving on the part of David Jakes. Although here he goes again. He's going to go on the outside. I don't think Lucina is going to be able to defend it this time. Jakes actually
Lucina's tires have obviously flat spots, but look at that. That was a very skilled maneuver.
Jakes,
will he make it stick? Yes, he does. Well, amazing.
Jakes had contact with the wall there, as you couldn't see it from that camera angle, but he did have contact, and Lucina fought back. My goodness, these two are going to have to ship these tubs back to England for repairs after this race. Coming down Seaside now. Grant is pulling out a tiny bit of a gap on David Young. He's got about a 4-second lead now, and then it's about a second and a half back to the battle we're watching now.
Johnson, coming from behind, is now already in the back of Adam Hackman. But no, he's a lap down.
Yeah, he's a lap down because of the penalty he served.
So yeah, he's desperately trying to climb there.
All right, so let's watch here. They're coming down the straightaway. Jakes goes to go past, and Lucina stays on the inside line here. Jakes sweeps around. Oh man, almost lost the back end there under braking. Got into a bit of a lazy slide. Looks like he's finally going to get it to stick. Jakes goes up to third place.
And probably needs now to be able to stay in front because he's obviously quicker. So to make it stick, he needs to open a small gap, the one that denies Lucina the opportunity of diving on him.
Well, I'd like to think that he wouldn't have trouble doing that, considering that his car is in better shape than Lucina's.
No, and now Thiago Canola arriving at Martin Lucina's track is probably going to help a lot, because Martin will have to start again defensive driving, this time against Thiago Canola.
Yeah, now he's going to have to drive defensively against his teammate, exactly. So that will allow Jakes to pull out a bit of a gap, which he desperately needs. He can't, I was about to say he can now heave a sigh of relief having finally got by, but that's not the case at all.
No, but that's interesting, because when David Jakes was behind, we all were believing that he was so much quicker because he was all over Martin Lucina, but now that he's in front, he doesn't seem to be able to open a gap that easily.
Well, we'll see. I mean, already he's got a decent amount of space between himself and Lucina after just one lap. About a two-car cushion there. And Canola is...
but he built it up in the front straight here, because when they arrived at the hairpin, he had Martin right behind him. So let's see. But yeah, I mean, as soon as he can stop driving defensively, David Jakes, he should be able to shake off Martin. And now there's Canola already behind Lucina. Lucina will get back in defensive mode.
Yeah. I think at this point, Lucina's going to be looking backwards more than forwards.
So behind them, Coxon already disposed of the other cars that had been holding him up, and now followed distantly by Swindells, Juha Boss and Brian Janik.
Oh goodness, Tiago's setting up Lucina, his teammate, coming down the long straightaway now. Shoreline Drive, it's not really a straightaway, but you know what I mean. Lucina does defensive driving again and is able to hold off Tiago, but Tiago's a smart guy. He's going to probably conclude, okay, I'm just going to wait for a situation here where he makes an error related to flat spot tires. Now, has Lucina pitted yet?
And watch out, because David Jant must be going way slower, because David Jacks has already caught up with him, and the rest of the people who are following David Jacks are about also to
I believe they have lapped
him.
cars they're having to deal with. Well, no, not really. No, yeah, they're catching up with Grant. You're absolutely right. So
no, with David. But Grant isn't that far in front either. He's
now
at the
away.
hairpin. So it's as if the two cars in front have been going slow, or as if David Jackson and Martin Lacina, taken, so to speak, in the rest meet of the battle, have been driving way quicker than we all thought. Look at that. David Jackson is already on David Jan's tail. And wow, what a pass he did. It's interesting. David Jan seems to have not a lot of stop speed there, and he's going very slow.
Here's the replay of the pass that David Jakes just did on David Yunt. Coming out of the hairpin, we'll get to see the full progression. David Yunt doing a good job of shifting here. But once again, David Jakes is in a superior car.
Austin Johnson in the pits. Austin Johnson has quit.
Well, he's just had one bad experience after another in this race, so...
I'm watching the replay now to see what happened there. He was behind Swindells. Oh, and at some point he hit the wall. It seems that he lost the car there. He lost the back and hit the wall head-on. Lost the front. Lost the rear wing, sorry. And he had to quit because he knew he had a too damaged car. He went into one of the side streets and he quit. Yeah. Well, what starts bad usually ends bad.
Well, Lacina now is coming up to David Yunt, and this is going to be interesting.
John Team is also in the garage.
Oh, slight contact between the nose and gearbox with Yunt and Lacina. They're coming to the backside of the course now. Lacina, for a guy who's got a damaged car, is certainly driving well now. Has he pit yet in this race?
I'm tempted to say he hasn't.
Because we're at lap 52 now. We're past half distance, which is really...
So it's true that we had many yellows.
So that really is playing into his hands. He can delay his pit stop a long way. Oh, he runs into the back of David Yunt and loses the position to Canola, but David Yunt's not going to be happy about that. David Yunt now is smoking his left rear. Maybe he's got some damage there. My goodness, let's have another look at that. As they come down Seaside, here it is, braking. Yes, Lacina ran into the left rear.
And Yunt is in the pits now.
So Yunt is now taking his pit stop, and that puts Lacina...
With repair, very probably, because it's a long one.
Well, Lacina's definitely takes the award in this race for
he's out now.
Oh, he's out now. So he just took a regular pit stop, but his car was most definitely smoking. So at the back where he was having under braking, it looked like it was a left-hand wishbone. So we'll have to see what happens after he rejoins.
Yeah, he's losing many positions because he's such a long pit lane here. He's now accelerating out, but he will end behind right now. Raul Jereb has a lost lap, so he is, I believe, behind Richard Wilkes. Yes, David is in 11th position now, right behind Richard Wilkes.
So the
back
question
into the race. Lacina also in the pits now. Yeah, the two that had not stopped and had retained the lead. They had been hoping for a yellow, but no. They didn't get it. The gamble was a failure, and now they have had to pit under green, which is really going to hurt a lot.
So Lacina still in fourth right now, but we're going to have to see how many positions he loses. There, he's out, and it looks like he's still in fourth. Sixth. Okay, now he's dropped 2 positions, possibly more. As he exits the pits, we'll see. He's down to 7th now. So considering that he took a pit stop under green, I mean, he didn't lose nearly as many spots as I would. Well, now he's down to 9th.
He's already 9th now.
9th, and it looks like he's going to drop to 10th here as...
he should be right in front of David Jones. That's
he's coming out just ahead of Richard Wilkes. So Martin Lacina goes into the pits in 4th. Oh, we've got a full course yellow now.
Oh, that's really unfortunate because here's the yellow that they had been hoping for. That's an irony.
That is one of the grand ironies of IndyCar racing. Is the full course yellow comes out just after somebody's made a pit stop, and now you're screwed.
Though let's see what happens now, because maybe Grant, I don't know, maybe he's going to pit because, yeah, at this point, I mean, it's the same as if they had pit under this yellow, so to speak. They have full tank and fresh tires. So now it's a matter of what the leaders do, because the leaders obviously so far had benefit from this situation. But now things are not as clear, because Lacina and Judd are going to recover all the time that they had lost in the pits. Not the positions, obviously, not the track positions, but the field will be bunched up, and we'll see what the leaders do now. Junt, what about? Junt has quit. Is that what caused the yellow, maybe?
I don't know, but I'm guessing that
the car is totaled.
Yeah, so we had an accident outside of what happened to him with... my goodness, that's really unfortunate. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the damage that he incurred from the contact with Lacina was partly to blame for that. His car might have been damaged at that point. Riding on board here with Richard Coxon, championship leader, who is now in 4th place after all this craziness. And we were talking about earlier how his car wasn't performing.
We're going from damage limitation from him to maybe actually a noteworthy leap forward in the points. Oh, look at that pit entry between Thiago Canola and David Jacks. That's worth repeating. Side by side now.
Well, into the pits now comes Richard Coxon. He's going to take his pit stop. There are others in the pit lane as well. David Jakes is in the pits.
You got
and Thiago Canola.
You got Canola and Jack's pit entry, because if not, it's worth repeating.
All right, let's have a look. Here's the replay. Oh my goodness, they came into pit side by side. You're right. Let's have another look at that from on board. I'm sure that that gave them a bit of a heart flutter going in. Let's take a look. All right, so here they come in. Jakes goes to the left. Oh my goodness, yeah, they came in right. Oh goodness, just grazed tires there. Thankfully, it didn't cause a huge problem.
So all this has put Lacina in 3rd position.
Coxon so Lacina's back up to 3rd. Obviously, he didn't do any damage repair, but
I believe it was mostly flat spots.
Probably
blagging him,
given the fact that he was still able to defend himself quite well.
So Grant is now in the lead. He is in a good position, but remember, he already had many laps under his belt. So I'm not sure how much fuel he must have left. Probably more than half a tank, probably. But he's obviously having to stop somewhere in the future, and it might not be in the best possible situation. I think that all those who have stopped at this point have been wiser than him. But let's see what happens.
All right, so I'm going to attempt to make contact now with Richard Coxon now that things have calmed down. We'll see if we can get his comments
see what
in the
the
race.
pace car does. Yeah, another lap on the caution, so it could be a moment to talk with Richard.
Yes, I figured. Okay.
User was moved to your channel.
Richard Coxon, Jason White at HSO Control. Do you read us?
Yep.
So early on, Richard, it appeared that you were having some issues with the car. Was it a flat spot, damage to the car? What was going on?
Damage, and I've still got it, so.
So how is the car performing now? I mean, you were up to 4th place before your pit stop. Now you're in 7th. Given the attrition rate, I would think that you're still optimistic of a good result.
Car's okay. It's a bit bent, but I'm good to go to the finish now, so. Just play it nice and easy, and just roll on to a finish, hopefully, in the points.
Yeah, well, we'll be keeping an eye on you. There's been a lot of crazy action ahead of you in the first 5 positions. You've probably been fortunate to have not been involved in a lot of it because it's been pretty hair-raising. Alberto, do you have any questions for Richard?
No, I think he already explained it well. I think that's the strategy. That's the way to go for him. He's in the championship lead, and you're probably going to retain it if things go your way. I think you made a good decision pitting now. So let's see what happens from now till the end of the race.
All right, Richard, we thank you for your time. Good luck in the rest of the race. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
So that was Richard Coxon, currently running in 7th place in the race. He's the championship leader. So this time by, we're probably going to be coming back to green flag racing. Let's take you through the order as it is now. Grant Riddall leads. Brian
Janik.
Brian Janik is in 2nd. That's
he didn't pit.
He did not pit. That's right.
That has put him forward. And Martin Lacina had pit just before the yellow. Then comes David Jacks, Thiago Canola. 6 is Rob Swindell. 7 Richard Coxon, and we're going to get the green flag again. And let's see what happens now, because this is a situation where those who have not pit will be willing to open a gap.
And the green flag is back out on lap 58. Grant Riddall accelerates, maintains his lead. Coming down to the first turn. Lacina up to 2nd place now. Oh, David Saber takes a wide line. That's probably because he's a lap down. But Lacina is now up to 2nd place ahead of Brian Janik. And David Jakes is just behind that group as well.
And David Jakes will not be exactly happy to see himself again behind Lacina.
No. His nemesis from laps ago. But now he's got to get by first. Super Tex in the form of Brian Janik. Oh, goodness. Be careful, David. Under braking there. Remember, cold tires coming back to green flag racing.
They're back at the hairpin now. Let's see who gets the better exit up from here. David Jackson, Brian Janik on the same car, basically. It's Lola T88 with Cosworth Power.
Yeah, he's got a good toe down the straight. He's going to try on the outside here, since that was where Janik was at the apex. Coming down, let's see if he can do the overlap like he did before.
Yeah, he squeezed through the exit, and Lacina is blocking wheels again. Probably a matter, oh, look at that threw him out of the trajectory. Probably a matter of damage in the suspension that doesn't allow him to control the car well. But still, it's going to destroy his tires and everything's going to get worse quickly.
Well, he's definitely right up with his with Lacina again. We'll see what happens here. Meanwhile, Grant is streaking away.
He's already 4 seconds in the lead, but remember, he has not pit. He
That's
has
true.
about half a tank, so he should be now much quicker than the other guys. Not enough to give him the lead if he must do a pit stop on the green, but he should be simply crossing his fingers that the battles between him produce another yellow. So Jackson and Lacina both on full tank. Not really able here to either Lacina get away or Jax to overtake him. And I also would guess that Jax is going to take things easy now on full tank.
I would think so, yes.
Grant already up to 5 seconds in the lead. But the big problem here is that the pit lane, as we have already mentioned, is very long, which means that you have to build a sizable gap if you want to come out in the lead again. It's something that it's really not going to happen. You would need at least, I would guess, some 40 seconds nearly to be able, 40-50 seconds to be able to retain the lead if you are pitting on the green.
Coming to the hairpin now, we'll see if David Jakes can get a run at Lucena.
No, it's too far away, but I believe at the moment David is content to just not be molested behind him by Adam Hackman. He's happy to see the gap building up. Obviously, if Lucena is going quick enough, then David is a very calculating driver. He will just be happy to follow.
Lucena's car looks very, very unstable.
If Lucena makes an error, obviously David is going to try to overtake. But the urgency will not be there unless he is really pressed from behind. He obviously is well aware that Grant is on half tank, so that, I mean, they are in a different war right now. And I think David Jackson says Richard Coxon did the proper thing stopping here, but you never know. Probably David also doesn't want to get in an incident with Lucena, cause it yellow, and with that almost hand the victory to Grant Ridal.
That's true.
He knows that the less problems, cautions, and anything that happened now, the worse for Grant Ridal.
He came off of the final turn much better than Lucena here. He may have a chance to do an overtake here.
But like I said, I don't think he's going to do anything unless it's very, very clear. Not going to risk it. I think he's confident that Grant now has made an error not pitting, and is going to let the situation mature enough.
Still, it's really great to watch these two scrap. Shadowing Lucena really well right now. Just close enough that it puts pressure on him, but not too close that he's going to get
Behind him,
himself into
Canola just overtook Brian Janik, and knowing how quick he is, he should probably soon be right behind David Jacks. In which case, David is going to probably change his mode and pass and go to the attack one.
Mm-hmm.
Twindels is also getting some pressure from Richard Coxon. And behind them is Juha Boss and Richard Wilkes. Adam Hackman coming down. And then the lapped cars, Fitch, David Saber, Gerard Rion is still in the race.
All right, Jake said a much better exit this time, so he definitely has an opportunity now to overtake Lucena. Coming down the outside, Lucena holding the inside line and successfully defends his position, but then they come into this corner, and Lucena's definitely slower out of that one because of the fact that he's entering the turn without this. Oh, Lucena sensing an opportunity, it was Jake sensing an opportunity. Lucena lets it by, and Lucena goes by again on the inside. I must
say that Lucena is a fantastic driver. I mean, his skills are absolutely out of the question, but I think that if he has something that is not as perfect as driver is that he doesn't really pick well the moment to make fights.
Here's a replay. He seemingly gets out of the way of Jakes when he sees him alongside him. He lets him by there. Jakes comes to the outside, and then suddenly Lucena sweeps by again. So I'm not
but
sure.
This fight is not helping any of them. Look at what happened now. Thiago Canola is right behind them, and I'm guessing that if Martin Lucena had allowed David Jacks to pass, something that anyway is going to happen sooner or later, then maybe David Jacks would be able to get away.
Oh,
maybe not.
I was just watching Lucena just now. He's definitely he's making the car as wide as he possibly can. And
he's taking the inside line. He knows that David is not able to pass there on the outside, not against someone who breaks as late as Martin. But like I said, the intelligent thing probably would have been to let David pass, because he probably is not going to get too far away, but instead the rhythm would be much better for both.
Meanwhile,
now they will have a problem very soon with Thiago catching up with them.
And because of all this maybe pay me that's been going on here, Grant's pulled out in almost 10-second lead now 11 seconds. So
yeah, but that's something that is, so to speak, virtual or fictitious, because I can tell you, if he has to pit on the green, he's going to end up something like 10th place or maybe even worse.
Well, if that's the case, then why are these two, they can settle this at the front if they just be patient enough about it and just drive sensibly. But of course...
Yeah, but that's what I said. Martin Lassina, if he has something that is not perfect as a driver, is that he doesn't really know when to pick the fights.
Yeah. So I think Jake's might be in a situation right now where he's trying to cool it after having attacked for a couple of laps.
What Jakes doesn't want and what got him in the move was not just watching Latina lock the wheels and going slower, but the fact that he knows that Thiago Canola is reeling in.
Here comes Juha Boss trying to overtake Richard Coxon. Coxon defending on the inside going into the first turn. I think he's still there. Yes, great racing. He defends the position of Juha brilliantly in the first two turns.
Yeah, but watch now, because when they come to the straight, what Juha really wants in this situation is just to be close enough to Richard. There must have been some kind of error from Richard, because otherwise, remember he has a damage card, because otherwise I don't think that Juha with that March 88 that is so sensitive under the bumps would be able to catch up that easily with him. But if Juha is close enough when they arrive to 9th straight, then Richard is toast, that's for sure.
Oh, Juha just missed a shift. You don't want to do that too often or you'll end up in the same position Mick Chapman was earlier. We have confirmation from YouTube that Rob Swindell's blew his engine, and that is why he's out of the race. So, but Juha definitely has an advantage over Coxon here in the fact that he's driving with a Chevrolet power plant. And you can see visually that he's closing on Coxon just because of sheer horsepower. But he's not going to try to overtake here, which is a wise thing to do. He was not close enough. But definitely getting closer to Coxon under braking at the end of the long straight. And he's got Richard Wilkes behind him too, so that's added incentive to get around Coxon. He doesn't want to have to deal with the Flying Dutchman or the flying Portuguese Richard Wilkes.
So meanwhile, life goes on as it was for Martin Lassina and David Jacks, except that Thiago Canola is ever closer to David Jacks.
Yeah, he is.
I've been watching the battle a bit, and David Jacks has been breezing the walls, so maybe Desperations is starting to take its toll here.
Wilkes is caught right up to Boss and Coxon now, so this could become a three-car battle very quickly.
Yeah, watch out, because in that regard, Richard Wilkes is one of those guys that starts to be on the move only past half the race.
Oh, here comes Juha down the inside. Oh, brakes a little sooner than Coxon does, and Coxon maintains the position. Late braking from Coxon there. Fantastic to maintain his position.
Yeah, remember in any case that he arrives to his braking point nearly 10 mph slower than Juha Boss.
That's true.
67 laps into this race, and even with the yellows they have been really going by very quickly with all this action on track.
Yeah, it looks like Coxon is much faster on this section of the track than Juha is. Juha may have set his car up for straight line speed versus corner speed, which is a curious choice because he's already got more speed with the Chevrolet. All right, another chance here coming up to overtake Coxon using the rocket ship that is the Valvoline March. Oh, he's got a huge run now.
An interesting thing
going outside again.
Grant has already lost 2 seconds in his lead. He was 12 seconds in front. He's now 10 seconds. And I would think that...
Oh, goodness, there's contact between Boss and Coxon. Boss is right-hand side, but I'm sorry about that, Alberto, but...
No.
Coxon was
Action is, of course, preferent.
Well, Coxon was trying to defend his position there, and he was on the inside, but Boss was just not going to give way and turned in, and that caused the contact, but it looks like they're okay. Go ahead with what you were saying. Sorry.
I was saying that Grant Ridal's lead seemed to have decreased at some point, and I would start to think that he's already trying to to be conservative with fuel. Maybe he is already starting to feel that if there is not a yellow very soon, he will be having problems with the fuel. No, he's actually in the pit lane. He has to pit. He has to pit. Martin Lasina goes in the lead. There goes David Jacks, Thiago Canola, and that was a quick pit stop for Grant Ridal, but he's coming out of the pits. And look, because as predicted, he's already on 8th position, 9th. Yeah, it happened what we were expecting.
Well,
Grant Ridal had to pit on the green, and now he's in 9th position.
My goodness, that's a huge blow.
And not just that, he seems to be somewhere around 20 seconds behind the leader, Martin Lasina.
So Lasina leads now.
Anyway, think that with this pit stop, Grant should be able to make it to the end because we are on lap 69. Whereas in the case of Martin Lasina, and I don't know, Martin Lasina and David Jacks, they pit at the same time. I'm not so sure they can make it till the end. So, careful with that.
All right, so we're starting lap 70 now, which means we have 25 laps to go. David Jacks is in second behind Lasina now. Lasina's coming up to lap Jason Fitch, who hopefully will... oh, goodness. Well, he chooses an awkward place to get out of the way. Oh, my goodness. I think that David Jacks might have just struck the wall there.
Yeah, he has been doing that on that hairpin, and I think that he must have some problem with the suspension, and the car is not really going. When you need that precision, that last inch of precision, his car is not going where he wants him.
All right, coming out of the hotel section onto Seaside now. You can see in the background there, Canola is past Fitch as well.
Brian Janik in a fantastic 4th position, holding on there.
For AJ Foyt.
Juha Boss at the moment in front of Richard Coxon still. And then comes Richard Wilkes right behind them. Adam Hackman, Grant Ridal then in 9th position. Like, let's see. Yeah, Grant just passed Adam Hackman, but he's still 21 seconds behind Martin Lasina.
So Boss is now free and clear of Coxon, who is going to be coming under attack probably in a few laps from Richard Wilkes. Grant is now up to 8th place with the...
yeah, so here's the strategic situation of the race as of now is the following. I don't think that Lasina, Jacks and Canola are able to go till the end with the fuel that they have now. I don't think that. So if they need to stop, Grant is going to overtake them clearly because he doesn't need to stop till the end of the race. So what happens now is, if there is a yellow, that's going to benefit clearly Martin Lasina and David Jacks. They will be pitting, they will be getting the fuel they need, fresh tires, as opposed to Grant Ridal, who will already have some laps on them. And then they have to defend his position after being bunched up till the end of the race, whatever laps are left. Whereas Grant has to fight it on worn tires and try to overtake them. If there is no yellow, then David Jacks and Martin Lasina are going to pit, and then Grant is going to recover the lead.
Question I would have is there any benefit to not changing tires and putting full fuel in, or fuel to finish the race? Would you save time just doing that?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but also remember that the stints are many times so different, because it's not the same having been behind the safety car on the yellow than having been battling it out in the track. It's also not the same thing to have been lapping alone as Grant Ridal as having been in a fight as David Jacks and Martin Lasina. I'm betting that Martin and David have tires in way worse condition. That is the case in Grant.
So as they come through the hairpin now, let's take a look at the running order as they come by. Martin Lasina leads. David Jacks is in second. Thiago Canola is third. There's Gerard Rion coming by in 11th place. So despite his problems, he may be finishing the points. Jason Fitch in 10th place right now, which is a good run for him.
And I'm betting that the reason why David Jacks is not putting pressure on Martin Lasina at this point is that he is aware of the strategic situation and he wants to save fuel, because he knows they need a yellow to have a chance at victory. And if there is a yellow, he's going to be bunched up with Martin Lasina anyway, so he doesn't need to really be putting pressure on him now.
Well, Richard Coxon is getting close to Juha in the backside of the course, but of course, as soon as they get to the front, Juha just rockets away from him. If you watch here, you'll see that Coxon gets a lot closer to Juha in the backside section of the course. But then, of course, all that is for nothing when they get to the get to Shoreline Drive. That must be very frustrating from his point of view. And a lot of that may be down to the Judd, because the Judge has good power at the low end. This doesn't have the power at the top end. Would you say it's an accurate description? Yeah, watch what happens here. They're going to come off the hairpin, and Juha's going to go bye-bye. Yep. That's got to be frustrating.
And Grant is now passing Richard Coxon. Well, almost there, but he obviously has more fuel on board. That's allowed Richard to be better on the brakes. But this is a complicated situation for Richard also, because Grant is obviously a prime title contender for him. So that's what Richard. That's why Richard is trying to now overtake Juha.
Through the hotel section now, Grant definitely on the attack.
Very hairy here.
Whoa! Oh goodness, Fitch backwards at the exit of the hotel
let's
section.
see if this triggers a yellow. Let's see if this triggers a yellow.
It
because
might.
Fitch is still parked there. If there is no real danger, no. We're going to get away with that, fortunately, but...
Good.
That almost handed the race to David Jackson, Martin Lasina.
All right, coming out of the last turn now, Grant is well placed.
Yannick has stopped. He was one of the cars that had no stop.
Well,
he will be losing several positions now.
Not taking away from his performance. That might have been why he... oh, goodness. Here goes Grant on the outside. He doesn't have the room to overtake Coxon. Oh, but he's going to go for the inside now. And he gets by.
Changed direction there very quickly.
Whoa. That was a quick change of direction.
Yeah, I know that Richard was going to pose lots of...
Coxon now on the inside. Oh, goodness.
I mean, if Richard has a clear opportunity, he will try to stay in front, but he's not going to throw away stupidly his current 6 points.
No.
And 6th position.
He's got to think about the championship.
Yeah. This is a long season, and he knows he will be getting a better jet engine later in the season in Michigan, so...
Grant is now...
His car won at Michigan, so it's not as if he doesn't have a chance at it.
Grant is now caught up with Juha. And Juha has got to put a lap on Raul here, which shouldn't be a problem. Okay,
what a gap they opened with Richard there in the straight.
Grant is trying for the whole shot down the inside. That's, oh goodness, he just pulls it off. Overtakes Juha, but I'm
and he's in 4th position already after that pit stop. Yeah, but still 20 something like nearly 30 seconds behind Martin Lasina, who has been flying lately. Well, Grant obviously hampered by traffic and by the big fuel load. But unless we get a yellow, this is going to give victory to Grant Ridal, because he has done the homework. He has disposed of all the cars that he could, and he's now simply waiting for the other guys to pit and fall into his clutches.
Yeah, if there's a yellow, Grant's going to be pounding his fist on the wheel, because his strategy will have been all for nothing. But of course, that's in a lot of ways, and this is a Bobby Unserism, but going to racing in IndyCars is like going to Vegas. Sometimes you throw the dice and they're good, other times you throw the dice and they're bad. So a bit of a gambler's fallacy there for you. But in any case, Grant now is free and clear of Juha, and that says something about the condition of his car and his driving technique, because Juha's a very fast driver, and he's got the Chevrolet behind him, and here Grant is able to pull out a gap already, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and watch out because Brian Janik was doing a very good race, and he went backwards when he had to pit, but he's also in the same situation as Grant Bridal. I mean, the people in front will have to stop sooner or later, so that might pay very well for him if there is no yellow. Martin Lasila 1.09. If he has a damage card, then certainly that's not showing a lot.
No, it must have been just flat spots.
Some damage, there must be, that's for sure. But fortunately for him, not enough to really slow him down. Grant now putting the quick lap.
Lasina coming up to lap Janik at this point. I doubt that Brian's going to make any trouble for him, but Jakes is still within shouting distance of him. No, he's not able to get too close enough to Janik at this point. Janik running in 9th place. Janik lets him by at the hairpin. Very, very smartly done.
And another lap goes by. 79 now. We're on the 79th lap.
Fitch is now, it appears Saber's trying to overtake Fitch, but if I'm not mistaken, is this a battle for
no, he's
position?
unlapping
No,
himself.
that's what I thought. He's unlapping himself, so there is no physical battle here. But I would think that with that Chevy power, Saber should be able to get his lap back from Fitch at the end of this straight. Let's see if he pops out and takes it. Looking, but he again, oh, there he goes. Oh, Fitch runs wide. Okay, he deliberately let him by there. He said to himself, there's no point in holding him up. So Saber is now on the same lap as the 10th place Fitch. I have to say, I'm impressed by Fitch's drive today.
Bad situation for David Jacks now with 2 slow cars in front of him. Let's see how this plays out. Fortunately, they are almost on the front straight. Yeah, they did it very well for him.
Yeah, that turned out pretty good, actually.
No, what? Brian Janik isn't aware that David Jacks is there.
Well, he is now. Well, that could have gone bad, but it did not. So. Now that Jake's dispensed with Janik, I was saying I'm very impressed by the drive of Jason Fitch, a driver that, to be perfectly frank, is not known for his finishing rate, but here he is driving 10th, making the most of the machinery that he has, and in spite of the incident he had in the hotel section, still in the top 10, and he's going to be rewarded with 3 points if he can keep going. There he is. Getting out of the way of Jake's. The only car he really has to worry about at this point is David Saber, but he's a full lap, well, a little less than a full lap behind him. So as long as he can keep going smoothly, you would think that he'd be able to cruise home to a top 10 finish. Let's see.
And another lap for Lasina. I'm really intrigued to see where the final point, cutting point is for these guys when they have to stop. But yeah, I don't think they will be making it to the end.
Well, the irony is that, well, not really irony, but it's a tribute to the physics of these cars, because there have been Grand Prix of Long Beach in the past where it has come down to people needing to pit at the very end in order to make it to the end, and often the race is decided in the last 5 laps. So we could very well see the same thing happen here. So Lasina, the gap between him and Jake seems to be fairly constant, despite the traffic that they've been encountering. Last race that Lasina won in open wheel Indy cars was last year. He won the California 500 with the USAC 74 mod. a very different kettle of fish than this race, admittedly.
It is, but Lacina has become a very quick oval driver.
Well, we'll see. The next race for these cars is going to be at Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Mile, and it's going to be a very different challenge. I'd expect to see Lacina be fast there, and several other drivers. Someone is kicking up a
will be back at the wheel.
Yes.
And someone else here in the broadcast booth, that'd be Jonathan Atherklin.
Yes, Jonathan will likely be calling that
Brian
race.
Janik just spun.
Janik spun. Oh, goodness. And he's going to, well,
Fortunately, he hasn't lost any position, but if people in front of him have to pit, they might hurt a bit. That might hurt. Not going to recover as many positions, maybe.
Yeah, as Alberto pointed out, from Milwaukee, it will likely be Jonathan in the booth. He'll be driving for the captain once again in the Pennzoil car, and I'll be back behind the wheel of my my trusty Amway Lola. So it's too bad that it didn't even make it one lap today, but hopefully we'll have better results for the Hemmelgarn team at Milwaukee. Speaking of which, my teammate running in second place. And he's hanging right with Lacina, but you're right. I mean, it's going to be, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen here because we've had lots of yellow in the early part of the race. There's no way, unless we look at their telemetry, to know exactly how much fuel they have on board. It's really hard to
getting now close to Juha Boss again.
Okay, that's interesting to me because Juha's obviously got more horsepower than Cox.
The yellow!
Oh, we've got a yellow! Good grief! This is going to change everything!
David Saber has hit the wall.
He's
has
lost.
Yeah, I don't think he will be able to repair that.
No, I don't know. I've repaired. It takes a long time to repair suspension, but I've done it before. But yeah, he's limping along now. Oh, that's really too bad.
Yeah, but that's going to give us an exciting finish because everybody will be bunched up.
It certainly will give us an exciting finish. Now,
though Grant will recover the lead, he won't be needing to pit even if it's on the yellow.
No, he won't.
But he will have the Hungry Wolves right behind him.
David Saber, unfortunately, is going to have to do one whole lap here. No, you can't do that, David. The pits are closed.
Yeah, he's going to live with the penalty, but he can't do a lap like that. That's for sure.
Yeah,
though
it's true.
I'm thinking, I don't know how much fuel those guys have in the tank, but with 2 slow laps, it could be that they can make it to the end.
I don't know. That sounds a bit optimistic.
Yeah,
to
but
me.
we don't know how much fuel they have. But yeah, if they are not sure, they are having to go now. Now Lacina is already behind the safety car, so if he's going to pit, he's going to do it now in this lap.
All right, so we're going to keep an
If
eye
he
on the
doesn't,
front.
he's gambling very, very, very much. But I don't think that he will be doing that.
All right, so here's the order, although it may be a bit academic in a few seconds. Martin Lacina leading under yellow. David Jakes is in second. Tiago Canola third. Grant Rudolph fourth, who is in the catbird seat here. Juha Boss is fifth. Richard Coxon sixth. Richard Wilkes seventh. Adam Hackman is 8th, Brian Janik 9th, and Jason Fitch is 10th. Coming around now to the hairpin. We'll see if anybody comes into the pits. I would really be shocked if nobody did. Jake's already fading to the right. No! Nobody! Nobody's going for the pits. That's amazing to me.
Well,
shocking. Okay, we
going
do
to the
have...
Fitch has entered the pits, but I think that they are really gambling at it.
Yeah, that's shocking to me. Jason Fitch has a drive-through penalty that he's serving. That's the reason why he's going to the pits.
Must be tight. They might be lowering the boost, but they probably think they have a better option of points. Probably not at the win. They are well aware that Grant is behind them with.
Okay, the one
fresh
driver,
tires, but
the one driver that did pit along with Fitch was Coxon, and that drops Coxon down to 8th place, I believe. And they are now exiting the pits, himself and Fitch. But I think Fitch is going to have to do another stop and go, which is not what he wanted to do. He accelerated out of the pits, or he went through too quickly. So he must not have caught the warnings from race control about the fact that there was going to be a pit speed limit. So under yellow, Martin Lucena still leads. There's going to be another lap of caution here because they have to give one pit opening for the lapped cars as well.
So I think that David Jacks was intending to pit, but when he saw that Lucena was staying out, he said, okay, if he's gambling, so am I. We're in the second race of the season after all, and I'm not going to be left here with a dumb face looking at everybody completing the race later.
All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. Everyone get all set and ready for the finish. It should be a really exciting one. We'll be right back after this message.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
The Toyota Camry. Beyond the test to ensure it has all the comforts you'd expect to find in a superb family sedan, we also tested for a few things you might not expect. Because at Toyota, we know there are enough things in life to slow you down without your car being one of them.
And we are back. So it's going to be a shootout to the finish now, assuming that everybody's made the right call with regard to the fuel.
9 laps to go, and look at that. They are absolutely bunched together. Everybody is so anxious to get a good start. And I must say, in this track we get a very late green flag, and the reason is that there's a hairpin. So it allows everybody to be already on the main straight, because otherwise you would give a big advantage to the people who are in the front.
All right, everybody buckle up, because we are in for a real battle for the finish here.
Look at Grant there, back in the 4th position, warming his tires.
Yeah, he knows exactly.
Smell of blood in the water arriving to him already.
Mm-hmm. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows he has to do it in the track. I mean, obviously he can gamble on them running out of fuel, but he can't run the risk. He will try to get the position in the track.
Pace car comes in.
Lucena in the middle of the track, trying to already block there.
When the green flag drops, the talking stops.
Watch the green light.
There
There they go.
Green. You got Lucena, Jakes, and Canola right together in a train. It's a Dick Simon sandwich.
Whoa, Rand breaching the wall there because he went for the outside.
He's wide behind this
now
group.
Brian Janik. You have also on the inside. Each one paced Brian Janik on one side.
Oh, lots of nuttiness going on here. Richard Coxon goes for an inside pass on Gerard Rion, gets it done. Ureb goes through as well, my goodness. Lucena leads. Jakes in 2nd. Canola 3rd. Grant Riddall 4th. Bosk 5th. Brian Janik is in 9th place, 1 lap down.
Yeah, because nobody pits. And he wasn't able to recover the position.
Oh, Grant Riddall looks like he's going to have an opportunity here at the end of Seaside alongside Canola. No, Canola shuts the door and just barely misses the outside barrier. But no, Grant Riddall goes by on the inside on the next straight. He goes by on the outside of Indy left, and now they're coming onto the main straight. That was an excellent bit of driving there by Grant. Coming down the straight now, Tiago is demoted to 4th. Jakes closes on Lucina.
Yeah, and Grant obviously just took the needed fuel to make it to the end of the race, so he's not on a heavy full tank.
No, it is no
but
point.
on fresh tires.
There's no point in filling the tank full in this instance. Okay, and now Jakes is coming under attack from Grant. Your point about the fuel load is probably very operative in this situation. Under the parking garage. Now on to Seaside. We'll see what happens here. Grant looks like he's trying to set up Jakes. He's probably a little far back to make a move. Yeah, he's not going to do anything here. Coming into the Indy left. I would think that this straightaway here should be quite informative as they come by now. We're going to have lap 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, and 95 to go. Oh, goodness, slight contact there between, it looked like it was Janik and Juha Boss. Awkward situation to let people by anywhere around this track. But here's Lucina defending his position all over the place. I mean, how much of that is him driving with abandon and him not being able to control the car, I wonder?
It's hard to tell. But
Jakes looks up the inside. Oh, there might have been a slight bit of contact there, but now he's got Grant Riddall coming up to the entrance of Pine Street. Jakes takes an awkward line to keep Grant at bay. Now
and
going
with Lucina driving in a crippled car, this could easily end in tears for the three of them. So close they are.
Yeah, and right behind them is Tiago. So Tiago, having been dispensed with a while ago, it may not necessarily be over for him. Now, Grant is looking for a way to get by Jakes. Jakes takes a defensive line. Grant is going to try to outbrake it. No, he doesn't have enough room on the outside. Coming into the hairpin now. Oh, goodness. Jakes almost loses the back end under braking
he was
in the
a bit
hairpin.
surprised by Lucina there, braking early. But Lucina was probably trying to prevent them from getting the run coming out of the hairpin.
Coming down the shoreline drive straight now. Oh, my goodness. Lucina goes all the way. Okay, now, at some point, you've got to say to yourself, you know, at what point is what Lucina doing blocking?
Well, he's changing lanes only once, actually, because he's following the racing line. He's staying there on the right, and at the final moment, he changes the line for the braking area and blocks there. So that's one movement, and we can accept that. But the problem is that his car is waving a lot, and that's making it look as if he's changing lines more than once. But I'm watching him, and he's not violating the half of the track line that marks when you're in one lane or the other.
Okay, well, Grant is now coming really close to David. Again, he doesn't have an opportunity here. Let's see if David is caught out by the braking zone again at the hairpin. This time it looks like he has a bit more room. Swings wide, takes the apex. Oh, someone's wing is sitting in the middle of the track there.
That's Lucina? No.
No.
What wing is that? That was a white wing?
That was a white wing, so it's either Gerard Rion's wing. It's probably Gerard's.
Yeah, watch the middle of the track. He's now on the right, but now he moves there. That's a single movement. That's okay. Now he's entering the turn. That doesn't count as movement, obviously.
But it's got to be immensely frustrating for David, who now has
that's for sure.
that has Grant climbing all over his gearbox now.
Oh, Grant just hit the wall there also. Oh, green? Look at
yellow,
that.
Yellow.
What happened?
We have a yellow flag here.
The car that lost the... Richard Wilkes. Richard Wilkes has lost it in turn
Richard
one.
Wilkes has run into the barrier at the end of Shoreline. Let's have a look at the replay. This likely will set up a sprint to the finish. Oh goodness, it's hard to tell because of the ping issue here. But okay, he had a looks like he just got all crossed up under braking, like a wheel locked up or something. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's stopped there. Or was that just a local yellow? No. We have a full course.
Full course yellow. Well, they've been really rescued by the bell.
Yeah. So now, basically, based on what's happening here, we're starting lap 92. Basically, I don't know. Does this mean we're going to be finishing under yellow?
we will have 2 to 3 laps. They might have a last lap that is on the green.
Possibly, yes.
They might have it. What?
We all know what Lacina's hoping for.
Lacina is already behind the safety car. He has completed 91 laps.
All right, so what'll happen is they're going to need to take... This is lap 92. They will allow 1 lap for the leaders.
Yeah, lap 92,
1 lap.
lap 93, and 94 probably.
So they,
So
in theory...
they will at least have an opportunity, and it's, well, if they have that opportunity, it's going to be absolutely nuts. Everybody's going to be crazy. Because it's like, I mean, it's blackjack. You either do it or you completely go by and miss it.
All right, well, we're going to take one last commercial break here for this yellow. We will not miss the restart, I promise. We will be right back after this message. Stay right where you are.
It's the statement you make as you travel through life. Distinctive, decidedly you. The great American road belongs to Buick. It's the fast lane of life, the road to the top, the road that Buick commands. The great American road belongs to Buick. Substantial and sure, with power and grace, a spirit as free as your own. Yeah, it's the freedom to climb just as high as you choose on a road that was made just for you. Oh, the great American road, the great American road belongs to Buick. The great American road belongs to Buick. Great American.
And we're back. So 1 lap has gone by where they would have gone into the pits if they wanted to, but nobody's going to.
Not willing to be anticlimactic, but it could happen that the safety car peels into the pits, and they only have those 100 yards till the finish line to race in the green.
I don't know. We'll see.
Because this is going to be lap 93 now.
No, well, they're working lap 93 now, and they could get the 1 to go signal coming by now. Because the previous lap was the one where the leaders would come in. This is, at the end of this lap, they would have...
93 completed.
Yeah, 93...
They have... It's a bit confusing how Automobilista presents data, but it's basically they are on lap 93. They have covered 92, and they are on the 93rd.
Yes.
That hasn't been finished yet.
Right,
So
let's
let's see
have a
what
look
happens
here.
now.
I doubt they're going to go green this time, but we'll see. No, the pace car is going to go 1 more at least.
So it's going to be a full lap, because that's 93. Safety car is going to go in on lap 94. They will be going through the finish line for lap 95, and they will have a full turn around the circuit until they complete lap 95 and last.
Exactly. So it'll be a green-white.
Whoa! Everybody be prepared, because this is going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be
absolutely crazy. Everybody has here a lot to win, a lot to lose. We've only got 8 cars on track now. 8 cars, is that? Yes, so there's points for everybody, but who wants the points when you've got the podium position like some yards in front of you?
All right, so let's go through the order now, as they're going to potentially be coming back to green at the end of this lap. Martin Lacina leads. David Jakes in second. Third is Grant Riddall. Fourth, Tiago Canola. Fifth, Richard Coxon. Sixth, Juha Boss. Seventh, Adam Hackman. Eighth, Brian Janik. Ninth, Richard Wilkes, but he has retired from the race, so he's going to be slipping down the order. Jason Fitch is 10th. 11th is Bruno Chacon in the Quaker State Porsche entry. So another good result for Bruno could be in the works just simply by persevering. 12th, and in the pits, getting repairs is Gerard Rion. That was indeed his front wing that we saw on the track. 13th is Raul Ureb, 3 laps in arrears. And 14th and out of the race is David Saber. So as it stands right now, we only have 13, make that 12 cars running.
And Grant is already starting to warm up the tires, which is the racing equivalent to sharpening your knife.
All right, here we go. It'll be 1 lap sprint to the finish.
Oh, this is going to be tight.
Yes, it will be. Pace car coming in. David's right
very
next
anxious.
to Martin Lacina is
He's not trying
crawling.
a staggered move. He's going to take the slipstream from Lacina. There they go. Good start by Lacina. He timed it perfectly well.
This is the final lap of the race. David Jakes looking for a way around Martin Lacina. Martin takes the inside line into the first turn.
And Coxon trying there on the outside on Thiago Canola.
Coxon looking
Everybody dies in pole position.
Yes, everybody's trying to get an advantage here in the last few laps. Lacina and Jakes obviously are fighting for the win, but Radal is going to be right there behind them if anything goes wrong. Now into the hotel section. Oh! Jakes goes for an inside line going into the hotel section. It doesn't quite work.
And
oh,
that's
Jakes
what
into Grant Radal! Grant Radal was waiting for that. He goes in front, takes second. This almost definitely will assure that Martin Lacina will win the race. But look, Thiago Canola going down the inside of Jakes. Jakes drops down. Oh my goodness, there's contact! Coxon has contact with David Jakes, my goodness! Martin Lacina comes off the corner. He's going to win the race.
Jax with no front wing.
My goodness! Martin Lacina wins! What a hair-raising finish!
Second, Grant Ridal, then Thiago Canola. You have us, David Jax, from second to...
Let's have a look at the replay of this
from
incident.
Second to 5th.
Let's have a look at the replay of this incident from David Jakes' point of view. This is it. Thiago Canola comes down the inside. This is after he had lost his position to Grant. Goes in, he hits the left rear of Thiago Canola and bounces right into Richard Coxon, who glances off the wall, but thankfully is able to continue. But David Jakes was the big loser there, and he lost many, many positions, including this situation, to finish the race. That's an awful way to finish the Long Beach Grand Prix. But we knew it would be a hair-raising finish, and we were right.
Absolutely crazy.
So Martin Lacina wins, Grant Ridal second, Thiago Canola third, Juha Boss is fourth, David Jakes ends up in fifth despite what happened there, Coxon sixth, Adam Hackman seventh, Brian Janik eighth, Jason Fitch finishes in ninth place, Wilkes, despite his DNF, finishes 10th, Bruno Chacon in the Quaker State Porsche finishes in, I believe, 11th place, and Gerard Rion, despite his incident where he lost his wing, he is going to pick up 1 point for finishing in 12th.
Well, there's many things you can say about this race, but not that it lacked action.
No, absolutely not. This was an exciting race from start to finish. Definitely worth watching, and in spite of the yellows, certainly entertaining. In this case, the yellow set up for us a really, really exciting finish. So we're going to take a breather for a second and allow people to enter the green room if they want to have a chat with us. So hang on just for a second. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
User left your channel.
It's Mr. Potato Head and his bucket of parts. Like smart faces make lots more fun. Mr. Potato Head and his bucket of parts. Buckets of fun for everyone. To make a million silly faces, it's the place to start. Put them all together, then take them all apart. Put them all together, then take them all apart. It's Mr. Potato Head and his bucket of parts. Buckets of fun for everyone.
Mr. Potato Head and his bucket of parts. New from Play School.
From Rocky Mountain snow to Florida sun, Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
Mine's pushing 250,000 miles.
Quaker State engines run strong and run long.
95,000 miles and no problem.
Quaker State is quality engineered to exceed every single car maker's U.S. requirements for maximum engine protection.
This car's new. I'd be stupid not to use Quaker State.
Quaker State engines don't know when to quit.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
2 out of 3 Indy drivers rely on STP oil treatment, because when it comes down to it, STP adds extra lubrication to reduce engine wear in whatever you drive.
STP is the racer's edge.
The Toyota Camry. Beyond the test to ensure it has all the comforts you'd expect to find in a superb family sedan, we also tested for a few things you might not expect. Because at Toyota, we know there are enough things in life to slow you down without your car being one of them.
So we're back, and the race is concluded. So we're just waiting for people to enter the green room. I believe Alberto has gone to the True Sports garage to chat with some of the drivers there. While we're waiting for his return, let's tell you what's coming up next at HSO in the coming weeks. Well, in the coming days, really, in this case. The BBC Top Gear Magazine Race Day is going to be on Wednesday, round 3 of 13 of the BTCC series. And then next Sunday, I'll be back in the broadcast booth one more time.
User joined your channel.
With the Pro Car BMW M1 race at the Norris Ring, which should be another really interesting event as Alberto rejoins us in the booth. Saw you went to the True Sports garage there for a minute. Anything interesting transpire there?
I think that well, things are pretty hot as of now. As is obvious, all the tension is releasing after the race. This has been a very tense race, so nobody's really in the mood for interviews. But we will be sorting it out during the week. It's been an exciting race. Thanks you for broadcasting, and to all our viewers for being there. We hope you have not been disappointed with this broadcast, because there's been plenty of action.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for your expert commentary, Alberto, and thank you to all of you for watching at home. Next race that will be live on this channel will be the Norris Ring race, I believe, next Sunday. And we'll probably be showing you the race on Wednesday in tape. So that's all for now from Long Beach. So long, everybody.